listeners and readers of AwardsWatch.com. This is the Awards Watch Podcast, episode 195. And I'm the executive editor, Ryan McQuade. Joining me today is our editor-in-chief, Erik Anderson.
Yes, I'm here.
The hell are you doing here? You're supposed to be on vacation.
I am not supposed to be here.
Don't worry, we'll mute you the rest of the time.
Great.
And I'm joined today by Zach Laws.
Hello.
Sophia Ciminello.
Hello.
Nicole Ackman.
Hello.
Josh Parham.
Hello, hello.
And Dan Bayer. If you couldn't hear it, listeners, Dan did his Mrs. Doubtfire. And so 7 of us on a podcast. I don't know how we're going to be able to get through it, but I'm really excited that we're all here because we're going to be talking about the 1993 Academy Award. Well, it's the 94. It's done in 94, but
it's 93.
Films, yeah,
Yes.
I just really hate this. People
Just say the
movie
66th
year.
Academy Awards. Use that. Then
I want to
you're
make it
always
complicated,
right.
just like it is for me. All right.
Oh my God.
But anyway, yes, the 66th.
Off to a great start.
Yes,
The Schindler's List year. There we
the
go.
Schindler's List year. Yes, the 66th Academy Awards. It's 30 years since those films have been released. Thought we'd do a good old Oscar retrospective this weekend since nobody wanted to talk about Haunted Mansion, which is actually really what we're all doing here. I brought you all here so that we could talk about Haunted Mansion for 45 minutes, but
I mean, I
good.
thought.
As long as it's the ride, I'm good.
it's
We're
okay.
actually going to
Murphy
spend the
version,
next 2
right?
hours discussing what could have been Del Toro's Haunted Mansion.
That's yeah. No, I haven't seen that film, nor will I ever. So, but I have seen a lot of the
Because
films.
you are just that petty that you will not give Eric's team even one penny towards winning this Summer box office game.
Y'all
My
are doing
gosh,
good
Ryan.
with Barbie
Yeah.
right now.
I need everybody to keep saying I'm going to see Oppenheimer 3 or 4 times because that's really the thing that's not smart. Also, good job by pushing Gran Turismo a couple of weeks. That's nice. That's smart.
Can't wait to keep watching that trailer for the next 2.
For the rest of my life.
Isn't that trailer the craziest thing where it is literally explaining what the trailer is about to be and doing the Wikipedia search for you and then showing you the trailer, which is essentially then doing exactly what they just did for the 2 minutes before. Anyway, it's 1993 Oscars. Who wants to start? Where was everybody in 1993? 94.
I'll start. At the time of the Oscars happening, not at the time of the films coming out, but I was in my mother's uterus. I was not.
Yay!
Who's got to be?
Of 94. So, I just like to put that into existence. I was not out into the world yet. I could not access a movie screen.
I was 4 years old, so I was watching Schindler's List and the Age of Innocence.
Was your favorite movie of the year like Remains of the Day?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one, it would probably be Kieślowski's Blue. That was the one that really resonated with me at that time.
Little baby Pinot Noir while he's watching it,
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Erik, were you in your mother's uterus at the time?
Let's see. I was 22 at the time, so kind of the height of meth addiction. So that's where I was at the 93 Oscars. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
You went there.
But I still really love the Oscars. That didn't change.
Glad you remember it. That's good.
I do.
Yeah.
I was
Sophia?
born in 1993, mere hours after my mom saw Jurassic Park. So I've told the story before on, I think, some other pods, but yeah, my mom and dad went to go see Jurassic Park, like way too close to her due date. And I decided to enter the world. She went into labor like right after the movie ended. So she saved the ticket stub and everything. So they always joke that I wanted to come into the world to see Jurassic Park and to watch the films of 1993.
That's amazing.
I mean, at least you
Yeah,
let him
love
finish the
that.
film, Sophia.
That's
Good
what she always
job.
says
That's
too.
a good
She's
daughter
like, you
right
let me
there.
finish the film. But I
Mm.
was apparently kicking throughout the entire film, she says.
Mm.
like
We're
the
in a-
little
All the noise.
velociraptors.
Yeah.
jumping in
You
the
were chasing
egg.
them too.
You're like,
yeah.
ping, ping.
Mm-hmm.
You
But
said, do
yeah.
I have
Scary
an
movie.
egg?
Amazing.
Josh, where were you?
I was 3 years old when this ceremony took place. So obviously don't have a memory of the Oscars, but or even like, watching movies from this year, but I actually do remember watching a lot of them like on VHS and at home. So there's a lot of stuff here that even as a kid, I do remember having very fond memories of watching. And yeah, I think it's a pretty good year overall.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the movies here are like the movies we ended up watching when we were like at home, and it's on like AMC or TNT a lot, and there's
A lot of
one
TNT movies here.
there is
Oh, yeah.
one movie in particular that is like TNT owned this movie for sure.
I watched a lot when I was homesick from school. Like that's this time period for sure.
Yeah, where you got to watch these movies and you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nobody's home. It's just me and I'm sick and I get to watch these things. It's great. Dan, who are you?
I was 9 when these movies were in theaters.
Wow.
And this was like the very beginning of my obsession with the Oscars, because in 1991 Disney's Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture, and I had seen that movie, and thus the Oscars were suddenly on my radar, that this is a thing that could happen. So naturally I was very, very, very upset that Free Willy received 0 Academy Award nominations this year.
And that's
Don't know what to
that's
do
the
with that.
silence right there that the Academy gave it to.
Mhm.
I would say
That's-
at the time when I was 9.
That's
But
fair.
today you're still miffed about
We're
it.
putting that in air
That's-
quotes, Dan.
Yeah, truly, I was really 29. I'm actually older than Erik. I feel like everyone should know.
Impossible.
So what do we, since we've seen a lot of these films and a lot of us have done the research this week more than others, probably. Erik was not supposed to be here. Obviously, we're all making
a lot.
jokes inside. You did?
Yeah, I have 2 lists. I have a lot.
yes, too.
Considering he
Oh.
has now all this time,
Again,
that he was
he did-
supposed
I
to be
guess he
doing
did
other
have a lot of
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, a lot of rewatches, but also a lot of movies that if we didn't get a lot of rewatches in, movies that we are very familiar with. So what does everyone think? And Erik, I'll start with you since you got your 2 lists. What do you think of the year overall, 1993? Or
I love the year. It's a wonderful year. It kind of, so 93, this is just a couple years after like Boys in the Hood. So like one of the big things over the next few years after that was a lot of like gang and gangland type of stories happened, and the one that I think is still the best came out this year. Menace to Society, I think is absolutely it's incredible. I think it's amazing. It also, we were just kind of pre the, not pre, but we were just on the verge of what the independent film landscape was in terms of sort of becoming mainstream, and certainly becoming Oscar mainstream. That was kind of starting to happen. We got Pulp Fiction the next year. We had 96 was like all independents and Jerry Maguire. So there was this kind of this movement happening and beginning in the early 90s that just was working its way through, as well as this awesome neo-noir era that really started coming through. And maybe my favorite from this year was probably Red Rock West, which is absolutely on my fake ballot of other things. Yeah, I love this year so much. I love it. It gave us kind of the beginnings of Ang Lee too. I mean, as an American film goer, with The Wedding Banquet, which is a fantastic movie. Yeah, I love this year so much.
Anybody else? Who else? What do we think, guys? Nicole?
Well, I'd say that there's a lot
or
of
Zach.
You asked.
Yeah, that's right. I did.
And there's a lot of movies from this year that I rewatch a ton, and that I think are like, 5-star all-timers for me, right? And even in terms of the Oscar year, there's some pretty good lineups here. Like, there's obviously things that I wish had been more widely recognized, which we'll talk about more. But, overall, there's nothing that's terribly embarrassing that I find. And yeah, I think that's the thing with like most movie years is like, if you actually like drill into them 30 years afterwards, you'll find a lot of really great gems that have stood the test of time. And that's what a lot of these movies are for me. They're just things that I watched when I was at a very formative time in my life, and they've continued to resonate with me as the years have gone by. And, I'm excited to talk about all of them.
Yeah. I also think that in relation to the Oscars, what I tend to find usually happens when you have one movie that like just dominates so much that that's the only movie people talk about, and then they kind of forget about everything else. But this seems like a kind of unique year where even though we have one movie that kind of swept so many of the major categories, there's still a ton of other stuff that has survived and has really been in people's mind and in the popular culture, even though there's this one movie that kind of dominated the Oscars. So I find that to be a really fascinating phenomenon with this year. And it means that there are so many interesting movies to talk about. And it's really exciting to kind of dive into that.
Never forget that Eric Anderson's favorite film was released this year, Madonna's Body of Evidence.
It's on my list.
As has one of Josh Parham's favorite films, Leprechaun.
Yes. Yes. You go, Jennifer Aniston.
Madonna's Razzie Award-winning performance.
Oh, we're not bringing that up. We're not.
No,
we just did.
No, we are not bringing.
Not the Razzies. We're not doing that.
Oh, yeah. There might be a question about that later.
Well, I love 1993 though, and I think it's interesting to look at the film year really just through Steven Spielberg, because he has this huge Oscar juggernaut in Schindler's List, and he has the box office story of the year in Jurassic Park, a film that changed the industry and future films to come. So it's interesting just looking at him and his output this year, because it's a dominance we rarely see from directors in the same year. I mean, if you look back through history, there are a few examples of other directors who have these incredible years. Coppola had one, people do, but this is kind of unlike anything else, and showed his range as a director, but also showed, I think, really like the peaks of what you can do in each genre with Schindler's List and with Jurassic Park. And I also just love a lot of the films from this year. My favorite Martin Scorsese film, The Age of Innocence, came out in 93. I love Robert Altman, so I'm excited to talk more about Shortcuts. And The Fugitive is just a masterpiece. So I think we have some great films this year to talk about.
Yeah. Nicole, do you have some favorites here that you
I do
love? Did you get to rewatch some of them this week?
Yeah, I really like 93 as a film year. There are some films that I still like. I had a busy week and I didn't get to see a few things that, like, I've still not seen The Fugitive. I know it's on my list, but I actually watched a couple of things for the first time. I watched Schindler's List for the first time to prepare for this, which was an experience. But this is a really good year for the type of movie that I care about most, which is to say period dramas. And there's so many good ones. There's so many good ones. And also ones that show the flexibility and the range of the genre of period film. You know, if you look at everything from sort of Schindler's List, The Age of Innocence, to Remains of the Day, to Much Ado About Nothing, and sort of how it can be anything, which I think is awesome. But there's a few all-timers for me in this year. There's also a couple of movies that I don't think hold up super well in this year. That's interesting. Ones that I like remember watching in the late 90s that I caught up with and was like, oh. So I'm really excited to hear everyone's thoughts on everything from 93.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is kind of like the great balance of what you can get within a year, because there's great indies like you're mentioning, Erik. There's a lot of big popcorn films that broke through and got rewarded. There's these small indies like Dazed and Confused came out, Naked, True Romance. Like, there's these comedies like Dave, that's, in Groundhog Day. There's, action films like Jurassic Park, and this A+ thriller, like Fugitive. There's the all the dramas that will, Much Ado About Nothing's and the Remains of the Day, and The Age of Innocence, these period piece dramas that you absolutely just love. There's even a great Western, in my opinion, in Tombstone that came out in that year. And, and then you've got also too, what's interesting is it's the start of not just Spielberg and having his being at the height of his powers, I think, in the Academy embracing him, audiences flocking to him left and right, having 2 of the top 10 biggest films of the year. And then you have all these movies that in traditional standards today would never make the money that they make. The Fugitive making I think it was like $400 million or it was like $300 million is insane. And these movies are mostly adult dramas. Like the Piano is a movie that was made for $14 million, I believe, and it made 140. So, and when I was looking into that, I was like, wow, that's incredible. That means that people wanted to go to the movies. And it's actually kind of interesting that while we're in the middle of, the second weekend of Barbenheimer and everybody's going to theaters and seeing those movies over and over again, showing that, it's not just about the superhero films and all those things. Like, it's actual, like, some heavy material in those 2 movies. There's a lot of heavy movies this year, and people went out and saw them and really embraced them. And then, with the Academy, this is the culmination of Spielberg's entire career. He finally breaks through. But then you have somebody like Tom Hanks, who is taken seriously finally as a leading man and starts turning in the dramatic work that he starts turning in for the rest of his career, and has a groundbreaking film and performance in something like Philadelphia. So it's actually a kind of crazy stacked year to talk about. So we could talk about it. Was there any trends that you guys saw when you were putting your list together? Were there, or was it just kind of like you saw your favorite films and you started putting them up on the list, right?
I mean, I will say that, and I remember this from when I was a kid, but I think it's especially true, looking back on it, that quote unquote family films were taken more seriously as actual quality films back in the early to mid 90s than they are now. You have someone like Agnieszka Holland doing The Secret Garden, who she was, a major international director at that time, and still is among certain people, at least to me. And there are I gave it a little bit of shit before, but Free Willy is quite good as a narrative, and so is The Sandlot. And Adam's Family Values was really a family film that was a sequel to a family film anyway. And there the Mrs. Doubtfire, obviously, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Cool Runnings. These are all Rookie of the Year, which is probably bad. I have not watched that since then, but I remember liking it as a kid. And it's a lot of films like that I feel like we don't really get that kind of quality in those kind of like for all ages PG films these days.
Yeah.
I think too there was also, along with the urban drama, the urban gang dramas, was also the sultry thriller and
Body of Evidence,
after Basic Instinct, which was kind of a massive hit,
and then
just like the
Indecent
year
Proposal.
before. Yeah, then they were like, everybody was like, okay, we gotta do something, we gotta do our own. And then Sliver, and which was awful, and Body of Evidence, which is horrific, but I love it more than anything.
And Indecent Proposal, which is
and The Crush,
camp.
the Alicia Silverstone, Carrie Owens. That movie is fucking bonkers.
I just watched that,
and
Erik.
I love it.
Bunker ball.
It's so good. Those kind of adult thrillers and neo-noir. The California with Brad Pitt and Juliette Lewis. Fucking crazy. Love that movie too. Yeah. We were just in this era of that was kind of just starting to percolate, and I don't know. 93 is a great period of being right in the middle of it.
This is also the year that John Grisham became a major box office draw, because you have both The Pelican Brief and The Firm. The Firm, which got multiple Oscar nominations.
Yep.
And was like a huge deal of a movie. Like,
yeah.
I mean, like Sidney Pollack directed that movie. And Alan Pakula made The Pelican Brief. These are like major filmmakers who were making these like potboiler movies with big stars, and they were huge successes. So.
Yeah. Grisham, like the biggest author on the planet at that time. So like those movies getting adapted and getting embraced. Different era for sure. Also, Indecent Proposal, asking the right question, right?
Okay.
Yes.
But
right.
He would never have to offer money.
Yeah, I'd be like,
it's true. Yeah, the one problem with that. Also, I love the 1993 because it gives us both the best and the worst of Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, Sylvester Stallone.
Cliffhanger
is fucking awesome, and Demolition Man is
great, and I'm not going to hear slander. No,
Demolition
Man is
it good. Looks cool, but it is bad.
Pre-Speed Sandra Bullock, absolutely not.
No.
Wait till you hear
exactly, absolutely not.
Wait till you hear what's winning Best Picture for me now.
Meanwhile, Nicole and I will be like, Orlando.
Thank you, Orlando.
My favorite movie of the year.
It's so good.
Masterpiece.
Yes, never forget that Orlando in the Barbenheimer of 1993 opened opposite Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and Orlando won
both.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of great. Nobody
needed more dinosaurs.
I think those dinosaurs needed more hair pieces and dresses.
That's what I'm saying.
Tilda Swinton could have played a dinosaur, but a dinosaur
could
not have played Tilda Swinton.
See, Tilda could have been the T-Rex.
Genders.
They do.
Oh my God, Josh! They're the same movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
Let's transition over to, I don't know if anybody watched clips or if they did watch the ceremony. Remember the ceremony itself. Were there any that's of course Erik. That's a question for Erik right up at the bat. But were there highlights for you doing the research for the ceremony? And also, what does everybody think about Whoopi? This is the first year Whoopi did the Oscars.
I have thoughts.
Okay. We'll jump in them.
Do.
I have loved Whoopi Goldberg as a host after this one. I didn't think she was very good. She was just kind of getting her sea legs in, and not that she was bad. I think she was trying to figure out the room, and she definitely understood it later. But she's just affable and really cool, and is a really good host. I think she's the best host that they've ever had.
She
my
was
favorite host.
also brought on because Crystal, who had done it 4 years in a row,
yeah,
had some
and other
controversial jokes
shows
the year before, and he was tired of it.
Yeah, in the pre-cancellation era, she was fine. She just wasn't at like her real peak of control of the show the way that she did later.
Yeah.
Like the Shakespeare in Love year coming out in
Or
full
Moulin
costume.
Rouge.
She understood what her part could be, and this felt more kind of like almost like an audition for it. But she was okay. She was fine. I think the best part of the show was Bernadette Peters doing the amended version of putting it together for the like everything of how you make movies, even though the piece itself is so frantically edited that you don't get a lot really of kind of understanding bits and pieces. You just see so much happening. But she was great, and coming out at the end on the real stairway, it was fabulous. And of course, her voice is god tier, and that was great. That was my favorite, I think, really, of that. Outside of certain acceptance speeches and wins and things like that.
Well, were there any
that's-
highlighted acceptance speeches that anybody saw or kind of went back and watched? Or
Well, the thing that I went back and watched was the Bernadette Peters, obviously, and that was so nice. And if I'm not wrong on this, the theme of the Oscars that year was something like people behind the camera, right? And I think that's a really cool thing to do, to sort of, and we saw some of that in this past year, which I think is interesting. It's sort of trying to draw attention to the work of people other than actors and writers and directors, which I think is neat. But I was just sort of researching the Oscars this year, and one thing that I thought was kind of crazy was I was looking at the in memoriam for this year, which, I'm a morbid historian, it's fine. And this in memoriam was a doozy. Like, you had everyone from Lillian Gish to Audrey Hepburn to Mankiewicz to like River Phoenix. It's kind of a crazy set of names whenever you look at it together.
Bellini.
It definitely is. Oh, and this year we had Glenn Close doing the honorary Oscar to Deborah Kerr and the in memoriam, and I'm just like, fuck.
Yeah.
Can you just like give her something, please?
Well, I was going to say the Glenn Close, the moment when she gives Deborah Kerr her honorary is so crazy because Deborah Kerr was nominated 6 times and never won. And up to that point, Glenn had been nominated 5 times and had never won. So you just think Glenn maybe thought like, maybe mine is on the horizon, but now we're at 8.
Yeah, Amy Adams is going to give her honorary in a couple of years. Yeah, I'm just going to continue the cycle.
Oh,
Deborah
30
Kerr
years.
took her
This is
aside and
30
said,
years ago.
Yeah,
and
they still don't like her.
So
God,
brutal.
what a grudge! It's the biggest grudge in Hollywood. Yeah, no, I was reading that too, Nicole, when I was looking into research for our questions here in a little bit, and when I saw River Phoenix, I went, "Oh my God, that's this year!" I'm like, "Shit!" And Fellini hit me big time. That must have been like because he's so influential on so many directors. And then yes, Audrey Hepburn, obviously, and face of Hollywood, and so yeah. And then I saw that it was Glenn Close, and I had a chuckle, and I kind of moved on. I think the one speech that I did watch, I watched Tom Hanks's speech because I was like, well, how was Hanks's speech for the Philadelphia? It's a terrible speech. I'm just going to put it out there. It's
yeah, but it gave us In and Out.
It's a terrible win too. So
whoa, here we
Really
go.
quickly,
In and Out as a movie wouldn't exist without Hanks's speech.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that is
and
true.
for that alone, it's worth it. But
My quick note on Philadelphia that haunts me forever is that Daniel Day-Lewis turned this down to do In the Name of the Father. And I always
as
wonder,
he should have.
Yeah, I just always do wonder like what that would have been like instead, but I'm happy with his year without Philadelphia, I will say, as a Daniel Day-Lewis fan.
The what actor turned what movie down for this year specifically is
it's
crazy because Harrison Ford turned down Schindler's List and Jurassic Park to do The Fugitive.
He was playing the Velociraptor in Jurassic.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Honestly,
He was-
it's a good thing for me that I did not have to contend with both Laura Dern and Harrison Ford.
What was he
Jurassic
playing
Park.
in? What was he going to
Not
play in
have seen
Schindler's
a
List?
single dinosaur.
It was going to be Schindler.
He was
He
going to
was
be
Schindler.
Oscar Schindler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I can see that.
Ooh.
And Alec Baldwin was
See it.
going to be in The Fugitive.
And Dustin
I'm so
Hoffman was
glad
going to
that-
be Zach Stern. Like there was a
Yeah.
lot happening.
It's wild.
yeah.
I mean, if you're casting like a grumpy older man that I need to believe can still pull women, like Harrison Ford does make sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But also too, I mean,
He could have pulled Jane Lynch in The Fugitive. I'm just saying.
well, it also like Sophia and I talked about this when we've done old podcasts before when we were talking about Scorsese. When we talked, and I think even Nicole was on with that one when we talked about Age of Innocence. And it's so crazy to think at one time Scorsese actually had the rights to Schindler's List, and they did a switch, and Scorsese got Cape Fear, and because Spielberg was almost going to do Cape Fear, but he really wanted to do Schindler's List, and so the buddies switched. But then, yeah, in the same year as
really worked out for the best.
it really worked out for the best. That would, that
I think so.
very
yeah.
fair, because then
Mhm.
also in the same year we get Age of Innocence, which is just I mean, yeah, I always forget that Daniel Day-Lewis had both In the Name of the Father and Age of Innocence, and just had once again a
Incredible.
really just great year. Just,
What a
just for a
man.
great actor. Yeah, for
He'd
sure.
have 4 Oscars now.
Oh, if he won this for this year, well, he should have 5. Let's be real. So
Well, yeah.
yeah.
I don't
Phantom
want to
Thread
make my
exists,
list or run
yeah.
down it or give him like his should be Oscar for My Beautiful Laundrette and
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't
So,
know.
Does
Yep.
anybody want to do a little trivia before
No.
we start
I
taking
mean,
this
does it
Oscar?
matter if we
Yeah.
want it,
Yeah.
Ryan? I
I'm-
think you're going to
Oh,
give
yeah.
it to us anyway.
I'm primed for
Well,
this.
funny you
Ryan.
mentioned that, Nicole, because I'm gonna give it this trivia anyway.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
you guys can do this one always as a group.
Ryan.
It's always as a group. What were the top 10 grossing films at the box office in the year 1993?
Jurassic
Oh.
Park.
Jurassic
Mrs.
Park.
Doubt,
Yeah.
Mrs. Doubtfire,
That's
The
2.
Fugitive.
That's the 1 and 2. That's 3. That's
Yeah.
number 3.
Yeah.
Schindler's List,
Schindler's List.
Schindler's List is
Firm,
number 9.
which is
The Firm is number
crazy.
4.
Sleepless in Seattle.
That's not. Yep, that's the 5th spot. So that's 6.
Pelican Brief,
That is number 8.
Did
Indecent
anyone
Indecent
say
Proposal.
Proposal.
That's the 6th spot. You got 2 more.
The
Oh.
Firm. We
I
talked
Well,
said
yeah,
about
we
that.
already
You
said.
just
You
said
already
The
said
Firm.
Firm. You got 2
Yeah.
more.
Philadelphia was one of
Nope.
them, right?
Philadelphia was not one of them.
Cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger was number 10, $84 million.
Wait,
There you go.
Did anyone say In the Line of Fire? Is that
And
what-
In the Line of Fire, Clint
In
Eastwood
the Line of
and
Fire.
John
Yeah.
Malkovich. That's your 10, folks. Good
Wow.
job. That's quicker than you guys have done in the past. Good job. Teamwork makes the dream work. It also helps
There are
when
a lot of us.
there's 6.
we each
All
had to
right.
come up with at least one movie. So.
Now it's everybody for themselves. So, how many viewers watched the Oscars live in 1993?
46 million.
46 million, yeah.
Mhm.
You want to be exact?
Uh,
It's like
Was it
46
like
and a half.
46 and a quarter?
46.2. I'm going to go up to, that'll be my gambling bet. For
Okay. 46.26. So you were right, and you're about right on there, Dan. How long was the ceremony?
It was
As long
3
as
hours.
it's
and
3:20?
I feel like I was going to say
3:15.
15. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's cutting in the middle. It's 3:18. Yes.
Right
So-
about the same length as Schindler's List.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it is. Actually, it's Schindler's List, I think, is 3:15, and
Mhm.
and the Oscars was just 3 minutes longer. Mostly like how we do our podcast here at Awards Watch. What were the 2 films that got the most nominations without being nominated for Best Picture?
The Age of
Ooh.
Innocence is one of them, maybe? Was that,
That is correct.
5? Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
Yes.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Who
both
was
had
the-
5.
Who is the only actor to quote unquote sweep the season? Of that
Holly
one?
Hunter.
Yep, that's correct.
Hmm.
Because speaking of which, who won the Best Supporting Actress award at the BAFTAs?
Was that
I
Winona
love
Ryder?
this. No, it was
Fuck.
Miriam Margolyes.
Yeah, it was Miriam
Yeah.
Margolyes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that old lesbian.
The drama.
Iconic.
Let's keep it at the BAFTAs. What won Best Original Screenplay at the BAFTAs?
Groundhog Day.
That is correct.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
It was not
Wow.
nominated for the Oscar.
Rudeness.
Somebody mentioned
rudeness.
Somebody mentioned the film earlier, but what was the highest grossed animated film of 1993?
Nightmare
Oh my
Before
God.
Christmas.
Yeah,
That is correct.
Must have been.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Though,
That
if
was
you
the
take
biggest.
into account box office from the year before, Aladdin would have made the top 10 box office for 93.
Yeah, but that's
it
like
was-
saying Avatar 2,
Yeah.
is
correct.
this year.
I'm,
and you
I'm just saying
but yeah.
that it had big legs. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Who were the two artists who were nominated for original songs for Philadelphia? Don't answer it, Sophia.
I know this. Bruce
Oh, this is easy.
Springsteen, Neil Young.
And Neil Young,
Yeah. Okay,
who should have won instead of Bruce Springsteen.
I knew.
It's a
Okay.
better
Wow.
song.
What?
Well, speaking of Bruce Springsteen,
better
not
song.
only
Neither of them.
won.
Janet Jackson should have won, but
Okay,
we're not ready
well.
to talk about that.
Fair. Speaking of Springsteen, put your thinking caps on. Springsteen won not only the Oscar for Best Original Song, but won Song of the Year at the following Grammys. What song and artist beat him for Record of the Year?
Oh, I haven't.
Welcome.
Oh my
Ooh.
god!
Are we
And
talking
Big hit. Big hit.
In
Huge.
nine-
Grammys
in
that occurred
94.
94?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, essentially like when the
Or like the
ceremony.
Grammys of 94?
Big artist.
Wait, is that
Wait a
George
minute.
Michael?
No,
Or
No.
was that
Wait
like?
a minute. Is this
Oh, was it
Elton
Whitney
John?
One
Houston?
Sweet Day.
not Elton
Is this
John.
Whitney Houston?
It was a debut artist. I'll give you that.
93.
But it's a
Oh,
big
it's gonna
artist.
be-
Vanilla Ice.
No, not
Eric
at all.
Clapton?
Female performer. I'll give you that.
The year.
From
And it is an
For the
album
93 season.
from a single performer, not a group.
Yep,
Record of the
single
year.
performer.
Oh my God. I feel
Didn't
my-
Whitney
Sinead
Houston
O'Connor,
win
right?
Record of the Year?
Wait,
My Grammy-
1994.
my Grammy history is bad.
Well, that's because they have.
Oh, wait a
40,000
minute.
awards.
Wait,
Is this the 93 Grammys that's from the 92 year?
No, it's the 94.
Okay,
it's
94
93, yeah.
covering the
Wait,
weird
no, so-
eligibility period.
The only person I can think of that would have been a debut at this time who would have won a Grammy is Sheryl Crow.
That is correct. For what song?
Okay. For All I
Good.
Want to Do.
That is correct.
Yeah,
Well
yeah.
Wait, I thought Whitney Houston won in 93 because I know my birth year trivia.
No, I think we were
Sorry.
talking about the 94 Grammy.
But it's the
Well, see,
94 year.
the
The song
eligibility-
came out in
The
93.
eligibility
It's
for
very
things,
Oh,
though,
okay,
is
okay.
it's a
Sorry.
different
Grammys
window.
is on a
It's the
different
Grammys.
calendar.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do it like September to
September.
Yeah,
It's like
This
it's
is
like
why-
the
Okay.
yeah.
It's the
All right.
school year.
Sophia was about to get angry.
I was just like, I knew Whitney.
She was like, I knew it, I swear. She was like yelling at it right there. All right.
funny.
Who won the humanitarian Oscar at the Oscars that year and who presented the Oscar to them?
Oh, Paul Newman won.
Yes, that's
Oh
correct.
fuck! Who
Who presented it? I looked
just-
at this earlier.
Was it
She
Redford?
did-
Did he do that?
It was not Redford, but good guess.
No, close did.
Oh,
the
it was-
honorary.
Oh, wait, no.
Tom
Paul Newman, it would
Cruise.
come
Tom Cruise.
Yes.
That is correct. It was the Color of Money co-star himself, Tom
Yeah.
Cruise. Obviously,
Yeah.
you already answered this already. Nicole answered this, so she spoiled this question. But who presented the In Memoriam was Glenn Close. Who presented
Close.
Best Picture?
Was it
Harrison
Ford.
Ford.
It was
I
Harrison
hated
Ford.
this.
Yeah.
I hated this. If you are in a nominee, you should not be allowed to
Yeah.
present that
That
category.
was weird.
I think it.
Also, just
you
like
know,
you shouldn't have to present that category.
But they keep doing that when Spielberg has something because they want that
Yeah.
Harrison Ford Spielberg connection.
well, they did it last year when Everything Everywhere All at Once because they wanted that connection again. So
they show their hand too much.
poor
I
Harrison
hate it.
Ford. He's just.
At the
I think
Oscars,
he's.
stop using
I think he's
Harrison
presented
Ford.
like Best Picture like 95 times.
He's
it
such a
feels like.
crotchety presenter sometimes too, which is
Yeah.
so
Great.
He-
It's
yeah, you
perfect.
see him. You see him halfway.
Everything's like under his breath. He's
It's
like,
like, all right,
"Arr."
let's get this over with, bitches.
Yeah, I want to go
This is
home.
what
and-
you picked.
Grumpy Old Men is actually just what you call a compilation of him presenting Best Picture.
Josh is so true.
my
he's
God.
just like, yeah, that's the crap that you nominated. Yeah, no, that's good.
Oh my God.
What was the winner for worst
And the
picture of the year
Oscar
at the
goes
Razzies?
Body of evidence.
Body of evidence.
No,
Was it a decent proposal?
it was Indecent Proposal. Was
Yeah.
considered the
That
worst.
sucks
Shit.
so bad.
Yeah.
Screw the Razzies. Indecent Proposal is
Seriously.
great.
See, you can't
I
get
love that
get
movie.
rid of them because you got to also talk about how stupid they are a little
God,
bit. You know what I mean?
That is the worst thing
And
I've
then
ever
what they
heard
Well,
in
but
my
it just further proof that they have been, really more about making shocking statements than about truly awarding the worst.
Yeah, but I mean that's
Like,
not like a
yeah.
shocking win. It's just a stupid one.
Yeah,
God.
just like the Oscars, they have stupid wins all the time too. So no organization is perfect.
Except for AwardsWatch.
That's fair. Good job, Nicole. Nicole's getting paid this week, guys. I don't know if you guys are, but she's definitely getting paid this week. Final question was, what Oscars did Schindler's List win for?
I know this.
Best
Okay.
Picture.
That is correct. How many did it win for?
Director.
How many did it win?
Seven.
That's
Seven.
right.
Seven. Picture,
Director.
director, screenplay, score,
Cinematography.
Art
cinematography,
direction.
Art direction.
direction,
and
editing.
editing.
And that's it.
And Jurassic Park won 3 more. So
Yeah.
And
he
those
had
were
like
from
The
3
Spielberg
nominations.
Oscars.
visual effects,
And the
sound
2 sounds.
editing, and whatever sound mixing was called at that time.
Sound
Best
effects
sound.
editing.
and sound
Yeah,
it was
that-
best
yeah,
sound
sound
effects editing and then best sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Which is
that's-
That's not confusing.
Okay.
Yeah, like dear Academy, maybe people would have understood the 2 sound categories if you named them properly from the beginning.
Yeah, if you
It's-
never screwed it up. you
It's
know?
honestly a little surprising that Schindler's didn't really sweep or do like even more. I mean, it lost costume design.
It didn't have
it-
enough hobbits.
It
Okay,
didn't. I mean,
but-
it won.
But, like,
Costume
it-
design.
what
Yeah,
one
like,
deserved to win, but it's also the kind of movie that you just feel like steamrolls.
Mhm.
Yeah,
and it
but I
didn't.
don't.
I never would have thought it would steamroll costumes. Though.
The thing is, there's
Like-
no impressive costumes in it.
Yeah.
Like,
But that's,
Like,
but
they're
that's what I
what
mean.
the red coat.
Sometimes
like-
it doesn't matter.
Well,
Sometimes it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Look at
It's-
the production design for All Quiet on the Western Front last year.
Yeah.
Like when they want to vote for a certain movie in a tech,
Fair.
sometimes they just
they just do it. Yeah.
costumes, though, is the
Like,
one that doesn't typically go with.
Yeah,
the-
that's
where they don't
Yeah.
like.
That's true.
Everyone understands what a costume is.
But this
so
was
they
this was like
actually use them full.
like the Titanic year too, when it like won everything but then lost makeup, and Schindler's also lost makeup too, like a more makeup driven
mhm.
film.
Yeah.
I mean, Gandhi won Best Costume Design when it won Best Picture. And like,
So did Chariots
other
of
than-
Fire.
yeah, like,
Oh yeah, the Chariots of Fire one is really weird. Gandhi
would be
at least like,
impressive?
okay, we're in India, we're in the past, but like
It was for
Chariots
those
of Fire one is
those
weird.
white beach shorts.
it's like, yeah.
and people have claimed the Academy isn't gay.
I'm telling you.
Although I can't slander Canonero that much, though.
No. yeah.
Never, like ever.
Yeah.
The only one of the best to ever do it. Like, yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. Episode. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, it's not done. We got to do shoulda, coulda, wouldas. So we got to, of course, if nobody's ever listened to the show before, what we start doing here is we go through the major categories and we start taking out things that we don't like personally, and then we replace it with something that we do want to be in there, and then we can say whether we want to keep the winners or not. And judging by this group, there's going to be a lot taken out. And there's going to be a lot of winners changing because I just know this group so well. So let's start with adapted screenplay. So Erik, I'm going to kick it over to you first. What do you?
Mhm.
Are you going to keep it the
Please.
same, or are you
Oh,
going
no.
to just destroy the category? And also, by the way,
No.
for everyone out there, our wonderful staff here does a great job of trying to go outside the box. But guys, if a title's already said, you can put it in there. I know that you don't want to repeat the same thing, but it's okay. It's okay. But Erik, go ahead and decimate the category.
So we have Schindler's List, The Age of Innocence, In the Name of the Father, The Remains of the Day, and Shadowlands. I will keep The Age of Innocence and The Remains of the Day take everything else out and add Much Ado About Nothing, Orlando, and The Long Day Closes.
Long Day Closes is adapted?
Isn't it? Am I?
Are you
Oh
wrong?
my God.
Hmm.
If I am, because I'm not going to look at it right now.
I'm asking because I don't remember. And when you said that, I was like,
I made the list without looking. So
smooth, boss.
I'll look it up right now.
All right.
No, it's not. Okay. All right. Then.
Okay,
right,
that's what I thought. Okay.
Then Joy Luck Club.
Good one.
And
I'm a little surprised that Erik, you of all people, did not put Addams Family Values in there.
Yeah,
it's coming up for me later.
Yeah, there's another category.
Erik,
I mean, me too. But like...
Erik, do you have a winner?
Of
yeah, you got to pick a winner. Yeah,
that's tough. They're
he makes a really great
all period
5,
pieces.
and then he's like, I'm not gonna pick. Just find my tie.
Probably Age of Innocence.
Okay,
A good
great
choice.
pick. That's a great choice. Great choice. Nicole, you want to go?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to take out, I will be honest and say I've not seen Shadowlands. But I'm gonna bump it anyways. I'm also gonna take out Schindler's List because actually the script of Schindler's List is one of my least favorite things about it. I think it's like perfect in every other area. I find the use of the German language in it really freaking annoying. Because it breaks logic, because why can we understand them in German sometimes and not other times? Thank you. Anyways, I'm gonna put in obviously Much Ado About Nothing. That's like the most obvious thing about me ever. But I also am gonna put in Addams Family Values because I think that's a really fun way of sort of turning all of that franchise on its head a little bit. And then obviously this puts me in a really hard decision to try to pick between two of my favorite movies of all time, The Age of Innocence and Much Ado About Nothing. But I am ultimately going with The Age of Innocence because I do think it's a more impressive work of adaptation because of how internal that book is and figuring out a way to like present that on screen. Although I do think it's a crime that Kinney wasn't nominated for adapted screenplay for Much Ado.
Okay, all right, Sophia.
So I am similar to Erik here in that I'm only keeping The Age of Innocence and The Remains of the Day. And for my other 3, I will be adding Orlando, Shortcuts, and Much Ado About Nothing.
Yes, Shortcuts. Oh God, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, what's wrong with you, Erik?
Jeez.
You don't have enough time for that.
I rushed.
I know I've been hard on Kenneth Branagh for his writing efforts, but I love Much Ado About Nothing. I think it's so much fun, and just the relationship between Beatrice and Benedict it's just one of my favorite on-screen like Shakespeare couple pairings. It's so good, and it's a really just fun adaptation. It's one that when I used to teach English, I would always like recommend it to students to watch after we'd read the play because it's a really strong adaptation and one that, I don't know, it helps you understand the text more, which is what all of the good adaptations should do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And your winner's Much Ado About
No,
okay.
My winner is The Age of Innocence.
Okay.
Easily.
Nice.
I think this is such an incredible adaptation of Edith Wharton, and just the use of the Joanne Woodward voiceover. It's so smart. And I think, it's brilliant. It's not the first win. I will give it. Spoilers.
Same.
Okay. Zach Laws.
Okay, yeah, let me just check my spreadsheet with the Lawsy Awards for 1993.
Right, the Laws.
Okay, well, so I guess like everyone else, I'm going to keep The Age of Innocence and The Remains of the Day. I'll be the first person to stick up for the screenplay of Schindler's List. I've read the book of Schindler's List, and I think what Steven Zalian does in adapting it is actually pretty impressive. And I get the complaint about the switching back and forth between English and German, but I think that's kind of more of a directorial decision than it is a writer's one. I think Spielberg maybe just was hesitant about directing a language that he didn't fully understand. But I'm going to put in Shortcuts, which is one of my favorite movies ever. And again, I've read the collection of Raymond Carver short stories that it's adapted from, and I think it's just a magnificent screenplay. I'm going to put in The Fugitive as one of my 5 adapteds, because I think that if I were tasked with adapting a kind of mediocre television show into a movie, I would want it to be as good as that one is. And that's my 5. And
Love
my
it.
winner is also The Age of Innocence, because
Oh, I hope we have a sweep.
it's The Age of Innocence.
Yeah, and it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Josh Parham.
Yeah, I would definitely keep Age of Innocence. I would also keep Schindler's List. I do think that is a overall just still a decent screenplay for that movie, and it's an excellent film. And you kind of still, for me, have to credit the screenplay at least a little bit. I'm gonna dodge tomatoes by saying that I'm not the biggest fan of Remains of the Day. I don't hate it. It's just okay. I'm not
with you,
Listen,
Josh. It's not
I
my
can
favorite.
forgive that. It's the Age of Innocence slander I would not have been able to handle.
No, that's a great movie. But Remains of the Day is, I think Howard's End was better, and it's okay. I don't hate it. It's just okay. So I'm not really attached to that one.
Agreed.
So keeping those two, what I would replace is, I agree, Much Ado About Nothing is my favorite Branagh film, and I love that adaptation. Orlando as well. It's my favorite movie that year. I think it's a masterpiece. And the last one that I would put in is what I would consider to be the best Batman movie, and that is Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh my
You're
God.
absolutely right, Josh.
Wow.
Best Batman movie by a mile.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
All right. Okay.
Fun.
Dan Bayer.
Okay, so
Wait,
get
Josh,
ready.
did you give a winner?
Well, for me, with my new lineup, my winner would be Orlando.
Okay. So we don't have a sweep, but that's fine.
It's a
That's
good
a great
choice,
winner.
Okay.
though.
It's okay. You're okay, Josh. Amongst friends. Dan, sorry. Over to you.
Okay, get ready. Strap yourselves in. So yes, I would, in addition to Josh, I would also keep The Age of Innocence and Schindler's List. I think Schindler's List is a fantastic job of condensing history into making it digestible and taking these atrocities and making them feel fresh and emotional. And it's really good. And my other 3, first one, Addams Family Values, because it's the most genius social satire I think ever. Maybe
It's the better of the 2 movies as well.
It is, and it's just
Mhm.
so funny. It is continually funny, even after so many years. It's flawless. Second, I had a tough time deciding on a beloved fictional novel adaptation between 2, and I decided to go with this version of The Secret Garden. I think it's a spectacular adaptation of the film, and just overall great film of that novel. Probably my favorite version of it, honestly. And my last slot, Searching for Bobby Fischer,
Oh.
which is a film that I feel like has been largely lost to time, and I think people need to rediscover it, because that is some heavy stuff. That is one of the most ridiculously layered, complex screenplays of the early 90s, and the fact that it comes out to be like a really entertaining movie is kind of amazing.
Okay. All right. And that's your winner?
Oh no, please. My winner would be Schindler's List.
Okay. All right. I'm keeping The Age of Innocence, The Remains of the Day. I'm putting in Orlando, Joy Luck Club, and I'm putting in The Fugitive, because that movie is, I mean, it's kind of hard to adaptating a television series and making a good movie out of it, and they had to rework that script to get it to where it was, and
It's also very quotable, by the way. That's
so quotable.
Like
the thing
so
just
many
moves.
great lines in it.
Yeah. And yeah, it's the Age of Innocence by like a wide margin. This is like one of Scorsese's best scripts. This work with Jay Cox is amazing. And I love that, obviously, so much about that film, but the narration in the film and the way it's used, and taking that from the book and having Joanne Woodward be the narrator for the film is it's so perfect. And so yeah, the Age of Innocence, not the runaway winner of the category overall, but not the sweeper that we were thinking it was going to be. All right, original screenplay. Who wants to start? Because this one's a big category. Who wants to start? Leaving it open.
I'll start.
Okay, Dan's gonna go.
So first of all, the nominees: Dave, In the Line of Fire, Philadelphia, The Piano, and Sleepless in Seattle. First of all, absolutely keeping The Piano and Sleepless in Seattle, the two best in the lineup. I think there's not even a question of that. I went back and forth on whether I wanted to keep Dave, and I think I do. Mostly because, like, looking at the other movies that I could nominate here, and I'm like, there's only one that I feel like really, really strongly about, and that's obviously Groundhog Day. Why? Just why? Why was that not here? I don't understand.
The BAFTAs got it right.
Yes, they did.
They knew what they were doing.
And the other one that I want to put in just for me, because I enjoy it and I think it's so much fun, is The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, I love that.
I just think that one is so clever, and yeah, it's great.
And so your winner for that category is?
It is very tough, but it would be Groundhog Day.
Okay. All right.
Perfect script is perfect.
Who's next?
I'll go next.
All right.
So I'm also going to keep the girls. I'm going to keep Jane Campion and Nora Ephron with The Piano and Sleepless in Seattle. And I'm going to add in True Romance, Groundhog Day, and Dazed and Confused.
Oh, okay. Sophia.
And my winner is
great.
The Piano.
Yeah.
I love Jane Campion, so I'm going to bring that up again too.
Awesome.
I'm also keeping The Piano and Sleepless in Seattle, a movie that I also quote a lot. And I like these other three nominees, but I don't feel the need to give them nominations for screenplays. So I'm putting in Groundhog Day as well, and Dazed and Confused. I'm also putting in Three Colors Blue, the Krzysztof Kieslowski film, which I always rewatch all those movies as one continuous film. And this is, I think, the one that I think about the most of the three.
It's the best one.
Yeah.
Of the three.
And I'll talk about it some other times. This
I'll talk about it in future moments on the show.
And my winner is The Piano, because it's my favorite movie from this year. And spoiler alert. And I just don't know what imagination bore that film,
All right. Okay. Nicole?
Okay. This is hard for me because, as per usual, I mostly care about movies from this year that were adapted screenplays, which is just a running theme with me in general. But I'm definitely keeping The Piano and Sleepless in Seattle. I love Nora Ephron, and while I don't love The Piano, I do think that its screenplay is like one of the strongest things about it. So I have no issue keeping it here. I have not seen Dave or In the Line of Fire, but I'm gonna go ahead and let Philadelphia sit, mostly because I don't have 3 replacements. But I'm gonna put in Groundhog Day, and then I'm also going to put in Dan Inspired Me. I'm gonna put in Nightmare Before Christmas because that is such a clever script. And also I think like one of the most unique original screenplays that year. Which makes it a very fun lineup, actually.
Yeah.
But my winner would be Sleepless in Seattle, because even though it's like far from my favorite Nora Ephron script, I do think it's really well constructed, and there are so many lines that I quote continually, and you know, Nora really had a knack for that.
Yeah. I miss her so much. She was so wonderful.
The fact that in like anyone else's hands, this story would be a horror movie.
Yes.
But she manages to not just make it into a romantic comedy, she manages to make one of the all-time great romantic comedies.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Make a phenomenon.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Josh?
I agree with the consensus about keeping the piano and Sleepless in Seattle. I would probably jettison the other 3, even though I do want to stick up for Philadelphia just a little bit. I understand it's very dated and it hasn't aged well in some aspects, but I do think that for the context of when it came out, I am understanding of it a little bit, and I do think the performances really elevate that movie a lot. I know that's performance, not writing, but there are aspects of that movie I do like. I realize it's not really very popular here, but I do stick up for it just a bit, but not enough to really keep it in terms of what I would replace things with. Groundhog Day is definitely something that I would replace one of those movies. True Romance, again, that's another one that I also really do like. And then the last one that I would mention that hasn't been said yet is I would pick The Wedding Banquet.
I was hoping someone would say that, Josh.
Yeah.
I love it.
Good. That's good. All right.
Yep.
Josh Parham, your winner?
Honestly, I think my winner is The Wedding Banquet.
All right.
Aww.
I love that. That's a great pick. Erik, you've heard everybody else now.
I'm going to be a little more cutthroat with this. And I'm only keeping the piano.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Nora.
Shaking my head.
I'm sorry, everybody. And I am replacing everything else with Dazed and Confused, The Long Day Closes, Red Rock West, and The Wedding Banquet.
Ooh.
And my winner from that is probably still the piano, but Dazed and Confused is actually very, very, very close. That is a top tier fucking screenplay.
I love it so much.
It's incredible. That movie is amazing.
Yeah, I'm keeping the piano and Sleepless in Seattle, and Dave's such an interesting one because I love that it's such a rewatchable movie, but then I think about like the logic and a little bit of the third act and doesn't always keep me from like putting it in top 10 or being as great as something like one of my nominees like Groundhog Day, where that movie is so rewatchable from beginning to end. And God, I've seen that movie way too many times. Three Colors Blue, I agree with Zach. I would put that in there. And then I go back and forth, but I'm gonna go with Dazed and Confused. I think that gets like the slight edge over like True Romance for me.
I love True Romance.
I love True Romance so much, but like I don't know.
Be like me and put them both in.
I could have, yeah, but the other movies, okay, then I can kick out Sleepless in Seattle there. Oh no, I wouldn't do that. But my winner would actually it's Groundhog Day. I think that is such a fantastic screenplay, and it's so funny. But there's obviously that movie is a movie that built then a subgenre of itself. This idea of like going back and repeating yourself over and over again, and it's such a trope now that like we see it in like even something like Edge of Tomorrow or in television shows or whatever, and it's just not never been as fresh as it has been here. And there's just also real great, I think, humanity and tenderness to the film. So I love that movie, and its screenplay is, yeah. When I saw that BAFTA won for when we were doing the questions, I was like, oh, good for them. they have taste. They usually don't, but this year they did. And so let's anybody else, any other ones that just missed your cut? Anything else? Any other screenplays you got was adapted or original you want to highlight real quick?
Yeah, I couldn't fit it into my adapted screenplay, but as the screenplay for Steven Soderbergh's King of the Hill is really good. One of my favorite early 90s movies.
That was one of my favorite coming of age movies of that whole decade.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
I also felt bad not including Mike Leigh for Naked in here, because I think that might be his best movie. It's my favorite of his. Yeah. So
all right, let's go to the cutthroat category of best supporting actor. Who wants to go? This is already a stacked category to begin with, but I'm sure people are going to have hot takes. So who wants to go?
Okay, I'll go.
Josh Parham, let's go.
All right. So just to run down the nominees, it's Leonardo DiCaprio for What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Ray Fiennes for Schindler's List, John Malkovich for In the Line of Fire, Pete Postlethwaite for In the Name of the Father, and the winner is Tommy Lee Jones for The Fugitive. Mm-hmm. I would keep Ray Fiennes. I would keep Tommy Lee Jones. And that's it.
Okay.
Josh.
Oh my God.
Yep.
You're speaking my language, actually.
I like this. Ruthless.
This is gonna be fun.
Yes.
Ruthless.
This is exactly why we do this, folks. All right.
And I would actually add Ben Kingsley from Schindler's List, who I think is like a very big emotional part of that movie that really should get talked about more when you speak about how great that movie is.
I remember being shocked that he missed.
Yeah. I would also add Val Kilmer for Tombstone.
Thank you.
I think that's a really great
thank you.
Fun.
And the last one that I would add is Gary Oldman for True Romance.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is an insane performance, but I am captivated with every single frame that he is in that movie. It is wild and crazy, but I absolutely love him, and he would be my last spot in that group.
You want to talk about? Talk about an insane performance. One of the ones you booted is pretty insane.
Yeah, I know. There's that too, but I prefer the insanity that Oldman brings.
I don't blame you.
Oh my God! Wow.
And in terms of my winner, okay. Here's what I'm going to say about this is that I think, to me, it's between two people, and it's between the two that I kept in this category, between Jones and Fiennes, and I love both of these performances, but I'm going to say that Tommy Lee Jones would be my winner.
Right.
Again, somebody defends it. This is not to say that I think that Ray Fiennes is bad, and I think that he is incredible, and if he had one, it would have been great. But the thing about Tommy Lee Jones is that it's such a fun performance. Like every time he's on screen, I just am having a blast. And with supporting actor especially, there's so many performances that are just so boring and dull. And it's like, we're only doing this just because they're overdue and old. But no, this is an actually fun, engaging performance in a really big, fun movie. And I like that the Oscars actually went for something like that. So yes, I know that Ray Fiennes is the favorite and everybody loves that performance and he is great. But I do think as I've gotten older, my allegiance has ever so slightly switched over to Tommy Lee Jones, and he is just by a hair, but he is actually my winner for supporting actor this year.
He should get credit too for changing the line in the script in the tunnel to "I don't care," because that's not what it was. It was like this longer, just kind of more boring line, and that is sort of the culmination of his performance. And when you think about it and when you talk about it, that's like the thing that comes to mind. But I do love also his little "don't let them make fun of your little ponytail" is so fucking funny. I hate it, but it's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is intense.
Josh just came in here with these scolding takes. So who wants to come in here now?
I said I was going to have some hot takes for this.
I love it, Josh. I love it. I love it. You're bringing that energy.
I'm on Josh's side, actually. I'd keep Tommy Lee Jones and Ralph Fiennes. I would also add in Ben Kingsley for Schindler's List. I would also add in Jack Lemmon for Shortcuts.
Yes.
And that's the one that really shocks me that he did not get in, because, I mean, 2 years in a row, he was highly touted to get a nomination and then did not. And every time I rewatch this movie, I am just stunned by his basically one little chunk of it.
Yeah, his like that scene at the hospital.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So good. I would also actually keep John Malkovich from In the Line of Fire, because that movie is a lot of fun. And I think that a good thriller is only as good as its villain. And he plays an absolute psychopath. It's so compelling to watch. And there's nobody who does that better than John Malkovich. My winner is also Tommy Lee Jones for The Fugitive. And that's nothing against Ralph Fiennes, who should have an Oscar by now, obviously, for The Grand Budapest Hotel. And it's not my fault that the Academy waffed that so bad. I think what I love about Jones's performance in this movie, it's not just that it's fun. He ostensibly has to start the movie off as the antagonist in Aristotelian plot, whatever the word is I'm thinking of, conventions. And as the film goes on, you have to watch him slowly come to the realization through good detective work that Richard Kimball was telling the truth when he said that he did not kill his wife.
I did not kill my wife.
And he doesn't care.
Don't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
You find this man. You find him. He had a mechanical arm. It's so good. Ford's so good in the movie. I'm sorry.
But you just watch the wheels turning in his mind, and there's a real performance there that's going on. And the other thing that I love about it is that, and this is true of, I think, all of Tommy Lee Jones's best work, every line reading he gives is almost like it's filled with joy, right? There's a joy of performance to it, even though he has this reputation as being cranky and disgruntled. You look at every single line delivery that he gives, it seems like he's having a good time acting. And that makes us have a good time along with him. And I know that the conventional wisdom is that Ralph Fiennes should have won, and I think he's fantastic in the movie, and maybe even better than what is there on the page. But I think that in terms of, like, you know, a temperature changing supporting performance, I have to give this to Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah. All right. 2 Tommy Lee Joneses.
Wow. All right.
Erik?
I'm going next then.
Oh, yeah, he's like, enough of this shit.
Really, it's like
That's what the energy.
Solidarity, Zach, and now let's watch everybody else just blow us away.
Here's the thing. For 30 years, I have held a grudge against Tommy Lee Jones winning this and even getting nominated. But I rewatched it last night.
Oh,
and I really feel I have come around on it for pretty much most of the things that Zach and Josh said. There is, it's not an obvious performance, even though the character is as conventional and obvious as you can be in a thriller. I think what he does with it is incredibly creative, and it is just those little twists on lines. And so I was absolutely ready to absolutely make sure he was off of my list, and he was out. But I think I am going to keep him in. I am also keeping Ralph Fiennes, and I am also keeping Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't care if he goes full R word in this or not. I think he is amazing. I love this performance so much. That leaves me with just 2, which is tough because I have 3 names that I want to put in here. Denzel Washington is the first. He's in for Much Ado About Nothing.
Oh, for Much Ado About Nothing.
Oh
He's
my
leading
god,
the movie.
I'm
He's
so
on my list too.
that's
Yeah. Oh yeah. This isn't even
He's on my
close.
list.
I think Brenna's decision to cast him was one of the greatest strokes of cast against types and expectations that there like has ever been. I just think it was genius, and his delivery is so fucking sexy, and he just smoldering. Like, good Lord, he's amazing.
Okay.
So my last 2 are between Jack Lemmon in Shortcuts and Matthew McConaughey in Days of Confused.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Which is the type.
No one said him yet.
Nobody
it's
said
the type of performance that absolutely is made for this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love how much Lemon's performance is like a big beating heart in his section. But I'm gonna go with McConaughey because it is. I don't care if he's playing himself. I don't care about any of that. It is the kind of lived in performance that we love. And I think it is indelible. It is the most indelible from the film outside of another one I might talk about in a little bit. And I think he's absolutely flawless in this. I would have loved to see any attention for this movie, but definitely for him.
Like a star turning performance, and even it's before you knew it was him. So like it's, and it's still, it's such a big part of who he is as an actor and who he becomes.
Yeah, and he has the most problematic line in the movie, and I don't care. It's
true.
fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
it's a great fucking line. I don't.
Yeah.
It's
because he's great
genius.
in it. Yeah, no, for sure. All right. You got to give a winner.
My winner. My winner is DiCaprio.
Oh,
All right.
so you're one of those that he should have won it from the beginning.
It
All right,
was
all right,
at the
all right.
time. It was at the time. I wanted him to win. I thought he could have, despite his age. I think if he had been more known, he could have won, because then you could have seen him compared to a lot of other performances. He had like This Boy's Life, which is really good too.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of performance that needed some history behind it, I think, to have kind of gone all the way. But I think it's almost alarming, the conviction that he has and the control that he has in it. I don't know. I've watched that quite a few times since '93, and I've felt the same impact from it every time. I think he's stunning.
Look, as someone who is team, we should have given Leo an Oscar far before we did, just so we could avoid some of the movies that he made trying to get an Oscar. I support you.
He made a lot of good movies to try to get.
We
those
could have
Oscars,
given
to be
him
fair.
an Oscar, back when he was like the age of the girls that he's dating now, and solved everything.
The Matthew McConaughey of it all.
I mean, but Nicole, like, the ages of the women he dates now, that has stayed the same for the
It's
past.
true.
How long?
You know what? Maybe if he'd gotten his Oscar when he was younger, maybe he wouldn't have some of these issues he has today.
You
Who
wouldn't
knows?
have The Revenant. That's reason enough,
That's
right
the
there.
most important thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, okay.
See, this is the evil I'm trying to prevent. Give me my time machine.
Who else? Who else is
That and Matt Damon's entire career.
Jesus.
That's true. Let me tell you, when that man showed up in Oppenheimer, I was like, here we fucking go. Ruining my movie.
He's actually really good in that movie. But
Because he's good when he plays an asshole.
yeah. I agree.
Believable.
No, I'm not going to disagree with you there at all, Nicole. He's really good in that. I don't think Dan hasn't gone, and
No.
Sophia and Nicole haven't gone, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
Nicole, you can go, because Matt Damon's not
Okay.
showing up here. So
Yeah,
let's
thank
just
God
be
for
clear
that.
with that.
Okay, so I'm going to keep Ralph Fiennes for Schindler's List. I really like that performance. And I'm also going to keep Leo DiCaprio. I think that what he was doing at that age is really commendable. And even if it doesn't like hold up quite as well, maybe I don't know. I think it's impressive. I'm also going to keep Pete, although I don't even want to take a stab at how I think this last name is said.
Postlethwaite.
He's a
Thank
postulate.
you. Yeah, there we go. Like bless you, but for In the Name of the Father, because I really like that performance. I really love In the Name of the Father. It is one of my favorite movies of this year, and I like that performance a lot. And then I'm gonna just keep those three. I'm gonna put in Ben Kingsley for Schindler's List because I really do think that he is the heart of that film in many ways, and also has the most difficult part in some ways because it is the least extreme of like him and Liam Neeson and Ralph Fiennes. It's the least like character part. And then I'm also putting in Denzel Washington. I mean, Kenny did it before, a Coen brother ever thought to put Denzel into Shakespeare. And I think that Denzel does two things here that are really impressive. One is that he makes the language sound so natural. And that is what I'm always looking for when an actor is doing Shakespeare, is like, make me believe in these lines as like something someone would actually say. And like you said, he makes it so hot. And I actually think that's important because like one of the weird things in staging Much Ado is trying to figure out how to play that role in terms of his relationship to Beatrice. And I think he does a really good job there. And I think he and Emma Thompson have like really nice chemistry, actually. And I also love him and Keanu Reeves like together. And I think casting them as brothers is, first of all, so interesting in 1993. So shout out to Kenny for that. But
it was
also
very
just,
gutsy of him to even hire Keanu Reeves after Dracula the year before.
Yeah.
And the travesty of that accent, and then to kind of say, let's just do it again.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Dracula is a pretty good movie, but he's
terrible.
My
in that
favorite
film.
movie of that year.
He's
Oh,
and listen,
easily.
I'm not
great in
almost
that
killed
movie.
it.
I don't
Justice for
think
Keanu Reeves all the time. No. I'm
Yeah.
I don't
defending
think
that
he's
calamity.
great in this performance, like in Much Ado. I think he's the weak link of the whole cast. But I admire the casting of it. Like I see the vision. It just didn't come together, which I have all kinds of theories about why it didn't come together. But I think that Denzel is like some of the best casting in a brilliantly casted film. And it's honestly one of my favorite Denzel performances still.
Oh,
And in terms of a winner, as much as I like a lot of these other performances, especially my two that I nominated, I am going to give it to Ralph Fiennes. Like, I think it's some of his best work. And the fact that he's, like, not to be such a baby of the 90s, but the fact that he's scarier in this than he is as freaking Voldemort really speaks to how well he can do if he gets to use his whole face, it's such an interesting performance. And like, I think what impressed me with it, like having just watched it for the first time, it's the fact that normally a character like that, I kind of am not wanting more screen time for them because, he's not, bad things happen every time he's on screen, but he's so engaging and so like almost mesmerizing in this role. And I love his chemistry with Liam Neeson. So
Right.
but my big caveat to all that is I've not seen The Fugitive, so I am not making a comment on Tommy Lee Jones.
No,
I am Switzerland.
Honestly, I think you'll really enjoy it. It's a very rewatchable. It's very easy watch. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really fun movie. Sophia, I think you're next.
I will be keeping Tommy Lee Jones. Speaking of The Fugitive, think my father would kill me if he found out I ever took.
I think
Tommy
every
Lee Jones
dad
and
is
Fugitive
going to
out
get
of the
mad at us one way or
category.
another for that. Such a dad
And
performance.
It really is. And I'm going to keep Ralph Fiennes as well. And then for my other three, so Denzel is just outside for me. I do love that performance, but I have to go with Jack Lemmon in Shortcuts, Ben Kingsley in Schindler's List. I love the moment when Schindler looks at him and says something to the effect of, we need to have that drink down the road. And he says, I think I should have that drink now. And you just feel like the weight of that character in that moment of what he's been through and like that he might die. And Schindler doesn't have that on him. And then Matthew McConaughey, I have to do it. I'm obsessed with the performance. I grew up loving McConaughey, and it started really with this movie and just continued on. So I have to give him the nomination here. I wouldn't give him the win, though, as much as I want to do that. I'm going to give Ralph Fiennes the win. I always think about the introduction to that character and how brilliant that is, and how he's riding in that car with the top down, and they ask him a question. I can't remember what it is now, but they ask him like how if he has any questions or anything, and you think he's gonna deliver something somewhat meaningful or thoughtful, and he just says it's fucking freezing in the German accent, and you just feel how awful and villainous this character is, and he's great, and it's such an early role for him too. So I would give him the win.
All right, Dan, you want to go?
Yeah, happy to. I would absolutely keep Tommy Lee Jones and Ralph Fiennes. I think they're kind of an unimpeachable top two in the category as is. I actually would also keep young Mr. DiCaprio. I think he's really, really good, especially for his age in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. And for my other two, with my deepest apologies to the smoldering as fuck Denzel Washington in Much Ado About Nothing, I give my last two slots in this category to, first of all, Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused, maybe the most iconic performance of the whole year. And number two is because I'm the only person in this podcast who likes Searching for Bobby Fischer. Lawrence Fishburne is great in a supporting role in that movie. And if anyone, I say give him the double nominations this year. Why not?
All right.
I am shocked that I thought I was going to be totally outside with the Matthew McConaughey pick, and I am so fucking happy.
I'm so happy you did.
Otherwise,
yeah.
No.
I am so happy about it. My God.
Yeah.
It's like that's where his whole career comes from, is that role, and it's with good reason.
Yeah. Zach, you were going to say something?
Tell you, I have a real quick Matthew McConaughey story actually, because of this, what we're talking about, him in Dazed and Confused. When I was in college, I had a teacher named Bob Goss. He was one of the founders of the Shooting Gallery, which was this independent film production company in the 90s. And when Matthew McConaughey was promoting Dazed and Confused, he slept on Bob Goss's couch while he was out doing that. So, because he was nobody at that point. And then he became somebody. So,
love it. Dan is
he also has the best hair in the movie too, like the best.
Yeah.
It's
just to be clear,
shellacked.
just to be clear, also though, Dan, he is your winner, correct?
Who?
McConaughey.
No, Ralph Fiennes is my winner. I mean, towering performance. I love Tommy Lee Jones, and I do love that. I think it's really fun that he won for this part, but like, Fiennes is it's incredible.
Okay.
Yeah. I would also say that this is very rare that I think all 5 of the performances nominated in this category are good, which does not happen very often with supporting actor.
Yeah, I also give props to keeping John Malkovich because he is such a fucking great villain.
He's great in that movie too.
Yeah.
The props.
Yeah. It's just, he's, oh my God. And him going toe to toe with Clinton, that movie is keeping Clinton on his toes. Oh, so good. Yeah, I would keep Tommy Lee Jones, and the rest of the category can go away.
Wow. Okay, I didn't expect that.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
I have Val
Wow.
Kilmer
Okay.
for Tombstone. I have Gary Oldman for True Romance. I have, even though I'm not a big fan of this movie, the one thing I like about this movie so much is Jack Lemmon's performance in Shortcuts. I'm not a big fan of Shortcuts, but I love Jack Lemmon in that movie. And then, of course,
Wow.
Matthew McConaughey for Dazed and Confused. My winner is not Tommy Lee Jones. My winner is Val Kilmer. He is clearly the best performance that never got any recognition that year. It's incredible. He's got so many iconic moments, including one of just the best moments in any Western period in a story with "I'm your Huckleberry," which is a line that I quote all the time. It is one of the more rewatchable films from this entire year. And it is I think it's the best performance of his career, a career that, it was, obviously very acclaimed, but also this movie has a wild history because a lot of people say that like they had a director and then they lost it. And then Kurt Russell essentially directed it, but didn't get credit for it. And then Charlton Heston did a couple of directing scenes of it because he's got a cameo in the film. And so it was all a big mess. And then Costner's making his Wyatt Earp, epic at the time. That movie's awful. It's one of the worst
So
movies I've ever
bad.
seen. It's terrible. And if you watch Dennis Quaid, who plays Doc Holliday in that movie, he's fucking awful. And then when you see Val Kilmer in this movie, that is just like a movie star performance. And it's so good and memorable. I love Tommy Lee Jones. Like of the people nominated, I would, yes, obviously give Tommy Lee Jones the win. I mean, some people would say, oh, they only gave him the win because they needed to give something to the Fugitive kind of thing. And I think it's a really fun role. He's got so many, like, I think it was Josh, you said, he's got so many of the lines in the movie and brings a lot of the humor and I just love, there's a moment when there's a moment where Ford goes down a flight of stairs and he's coming up the flight of stairs. And it's that quick thing of like, oh Richard, shit, that's him. And then he goes, he just calls him Richard. And then he just runs down the stairs. And the way Tommy Lee Jones runs this movie is just Keystone Cop hilariousness to me. And I love it when he pulls out the shackles, right? Or he pulls out the handcuffs and goes, oh yeah, what are these? You know what I mean? To the local cop. And yeah, it's so much fun.
He's very, very funny.
And Leo's performance, I think it's a very good performance. Pasta Weight breaks my heart every time. Fiennes wasn't the performance this go around on the rewatch that got me as nearly as much. If I did nominate somebody from Schindler's List, I do agree. I think it's Ben Kingsley. He's underrated as hell. I don't understand why I understand why he didn't get nominated, because Ray Fiennes' performance, he's like playing this devil of a person. So, and when you watch that movie, probably even still now, you're just like, good God, this is like such a big performance. But and then Malkovich is just like a clown. He's fucking hilarious in that movie. So, but yeah, that's how I would look at the category. So a lot of good
Tommy Lee
names.
Jones, by the way, has the funniest acceptance speech of the night because
Yeah.
he had to shave his head for he was making Cobb at the time, the biopic about Ty Cobb, and he got up there and said, "What can a man say at this point except I'm not really bald?" And
Yeah, he looked like a goddamn baseball.
He
Yeah,
really
almost.
did.
He really did.
It was just a perfect circle there.
But his hair in the movie is great, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it
He's
is.
got good hair. All right, supporting actress. I'll
Oh
go.
my God. Do it.
I'll go.
This category is insane. I could replace everybody.
Mm.
Well,
Or nobody.
I would keep 3. I would keep Winona Ryder for the age. Well, the nominees are Anna Paquin for The Piano, who won, Holly Hunter for The Firm, Rosie Perez for Fearless, Winona Ryder for The Age of Innocence, and Emma Thompson for In the Name of the Father. I would keep Winona Ryder for the Age of Innocence, I would keep Anna Paquin for the piano. And I would keep Emma Thompson for In the Name of the Father. But I also would consider the fact that I think she's supporting in The Remains of the Day. And I would and
Yes.
I would actually put her in there for The Remains of the Day rather than In the Name of the Father. And now that the group agrees with that, that's what I'm going to do. Because when I watched that movie,
Nicole
I'm
and
like,
I had a long conversation about this.
I was watching
Yes.
that movie literally before this podcast, going like, she was nominated in lead. Like, what the hell? This is clearly all through his
It is
perspective. It's ridiculous.
Truly
So
just
weird.
like one of those things where they said, a male lead and a female lead, and didn't look at what lead actually means.
Yeah. And also, we just love her and we'll nominate her in 2 things. So,
Also, she was on the poster.
yeah, she's on the poster.
It's
She's
just the
one
2
of
of them. They're both
Yeah.
leads, right?
Right.
I
would
mean,
nominate.
it was really because she had just won, and
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
she had the cachet now.
And
I'm
it's
just saying she
Merchant
could have been
Ivory
nominated
too.
in lead for Much Ado, which is the one that she deserved it for. But you know,
maybe.
Just wait.
We'll get
Wait.
there.
There's more. Annie MacDowell for Groundhog Day is my 4th nominee.
Controversial.
Nope,
Not even on my
controversial.
list of like 15.
Fantastic. And Joan Cusack for Adam's Family Values. Like that the most
That's
that
the
is
correct answer.
Yeah.
that is the correct answer, and that is the winner. Because if you don't think that performance is amazing, and then you don't appreciate comedy and you don't appreciate cinema. She is incredible in that movie, and she is what elevates that movie from the first film. For me, it's just this great performance in there. So yeah, don't understand why
Malibu Barbie.
she should have like 2 Oscars at this point.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Easily.
Mm-hmm. Because
Oh,
somebody mentioned In and Out earlier. Because
Yeah.
I did.
that's a conversation we can have.
Great
for
in
another
that.
time.
Great in Working Girl. Great. Every
Oh,
nomination
I love
she's
her in
gotten,
Working
she
Girl.
could have won.
I love her in Working Girl, but I love Sigourney in Working Girl
Yeah,
just a little bit more. Oh,
Ooh, not me.
wow.
Mm-mm.
Almost thought about Sigourney for Dave, but I didn't know. That's kind of borderline there too. I'm pushing the envelope a little bit. Zach, you were going to say something?
You can put her wherever you want. You put anybody wherever you want.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I can go next if you.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just.
You just looked eager.
Well, you were talking about Joan Cusack, and that like makes me excited to talk. But
Yeah.
So I would I'd keep Anna Paquin and Winona Ryder. I'd probably also keep Rosie Perez for Fearless.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She's brilliant in Fearless.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
and that's one of my favorite Peter Weir films. So, in terms of who I'm going to take out Emma Thompson and Holly Hunter because they don't really need those nominations. And I would give it to Julianne Moore and Jennifer Jason Leigh for Shortcuts. I kind of wanted to put Andie MacDowell in for Shortcuts as well, but then I was like, that might be a little ridiculous. So I just narrowed it down to 2. Julianne Moore, incredible in that very famous scene between her and Matthew Modine. And like she did this the same year as she had like a little cameo in The Fugitive. So I like to think of it as like, when the New York Film Critics give it to somebody for 2 different films. That's what I'm going with.
Zach, I'm so mad at you. You're totally stealing my bit that
I'm known to like copy other people's homework for these things. And then Jennifer Jason Leigh was, I've been rewatching a lot of her films recently because they're all on the Criterion Channel, and just the most extraordinary run of any actress throughout that decade. And it is an absolute crime that the only Oscar nomination she ever got was for The Hateful Eight, a movie that I do not hate, but not at all representative of the unique talent that she was
The number of nominations that she should have is insane.
Yeah. I mean, this, Miami Blues, Georgia, Mrs. Parker and the Vicious Circle.
She had Single White Female this same year.
Single White Female. One of my all-time favorite movies to watch whenever it's on. In terms of my winner, I really love Anna Paquin in The Piano. I think that's one of the best child performances that I've ever seen. But I'd probably give it to Winona. And yeah, I really like, on this most recent rewatch, the scene where she essentially reveals to Newland that she has trapped him in this marriage. I was like, that's the reason right there that she got nominated and should have won. Like, that was just lurking underneath the surface the whole time. And I didn't, you don't see it until then. It's just like, I mean, every performance in the movie is about, keeping your true intentions hidden because you can't express them. She, I think, is maybe the best of that, of the three. So I have to give it to her.
All right. Who's next?
I'll go next.
Oh.
I only want to because I just want to couple up with Zach's some of Zach's choices.
Synergy.
This is really tough because, like I said, I could replace everybody, but there's a lot of fantastic performances here that I kind of don't want to, but I'm going to anyway. This is very, very cutthroat. I am going to only leave Anna Paquin and Winona Ryder. Okay. And because I'm extra, I have honorable mentions I want to mention, which include Darlene Cates in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. It's a non-actor performance, and you can see it and feel it, but it's okay because there's just conviction and heart in there that is you can't Brendan Fraser your way to a performance in a role like that as she did. So Parker Posey in Dazed and Confused.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew it.
Fucking genius. Fucking genius. I love her so much. Juliette Lewis in California. Literally, you could just throw a dart at anybody in Shortcuts, at any of the supporting actresses. It doesn't. Anne Archer, Lily Tomlin, Annie Ross, amazing. But I'm going with Jennifer Jason Leigh. Having this and Single White Female the same year, being so unrewarded for phenomenal performances throughout the 80s and 90s. Oh my God, Mrs. Parker in the Vicious Circle. Are you kidding me?
Should have won.
Last Exit to Brooklyn. Don't ever talk to me about anything ever than that performance not getting in, because it makes me so mad. Julianne Moore. She had this, The Fugitive, Body of Evidence, and Benny and June. She's in for me. This is an easy in. So that does leave one left.
Wait, Julianne Moore in on a list for you?
I know, shocking. Right? Is that the most shocking bit of information?
Fucking shock.
I am shocked to find.
Shocked
to find Julianne Moore in this establishment.
And then Joan Cusack, because it is one of the all-time great comedic performances. All time. She is the winner here for me. Not that it's not close, but she is the winner. Indelible. It is high camp. It is high drag. It is the most gifable and quotable of any performance, even more than Angelica Houston.
And
which
Christina
is
Ricci.
Yes. Ricci, I love Ricci.
Love her. She's flawless.
Cusack just she's hitting every single possible beat and tone. She's insane. Nobody can give this performance except for her. She's insane. So she's my winner.
Okay. All right. Sophia, you want to go?
Okay, yeah. So I'm keeping Anna Paquin and Winona Ryder. And my other nominees I'm adding, I have Julianne Moore and Jennifer Jason Leigh for Shortcuts. I keep nominating Shortcuts everywhere I can. There's a theme. And then it's so tough because, on paper, I would absolutely say Winona Ryder deserves the Oscar for The Age of Innocence. But with my last edition, Joan Cusack in Addams Family Values, I have to go with her. It's like one of my favorite performances ever and expert comedy. And just what a cool Oscar win this would have been.
What a cool nomination it would have been.
Yeah, just a nomination. Seriously.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. I'll go next. So I would keep Winona Ryder, obviously, and then I would also keep Emma Thompson for In the Name of the Father. Like I said, I really love that movie. I think she's very good in it, and I think that also she shows a lot of range in this year, so I want her to be nominated twice, obviously. And then in terms of who I'm putting in, obviously I'm putting in Joan Cusack because I have taste. But then I'm also gonna do two things that might then make people question me. I'm putting Michelle Pfeiffer into this category for The Age of Innocence.
I agree.
I am highly team Newland Archer is the lead of The Age of Innocence. I believe that everyone else there is supporting. So she goes here. And then I'm putting in Rosie O'Donnell for Sleepless in Seattle because
oh my god, I love this.
I love it so much. I love it so much.
I think it's like one of the best uses of like her comedic work. I think she's great in it. And then as much as I would love to give it to Joan Cusack, I am going to give it to Winona Ryder because Winona Ryder deserves the whole world and did not deserve the way that Hollywood treated her for a long time. And I wish that she had an Oscar to wave in their faces. So I'm giving her one.
She was 21 or 22 when she gave this performance. It's just really
she was baby.
Remarkable. Yeah.
She was on a tear at this point in her career.
I also would give her an Oscar for Heathers. So,
And she could have won one the very next year for Little Women too, frankly.
She's my winner that year of the
she
nominees.
Yeah.
All right.
I will go next because, like Nicole, I am also team Newland Archer is the sole lead of The Age of Innocence. And I would, in this lineup, I actually really like this lineup, not gonna lie. But I would keep Anna Paquin, I'd keep Winona, and I'd keep Rosie Perez, who, like I said, I think she's brilliant and fearless. Absolutely one of the best, coolest nominations of the 90s in any supporting category. And I'm not keeping Emma Thompson, but only because I haven't seen In the Name of the Father in a really long time. And I feel like I want to put two performances that I know are great in this category, as opposed to leaving any room for doubt. And one of those is Michelle Pfeiffer in The Age of Innocence, because I mean, the fact that she didn't get a nomination is just rude. It's rude. She's great. She's brilliant. And of course, the last spot has to go to Joan Cusack because, as everyone has said, she should have won this category. It is like without peer in the realm of comedy, and comedic performances that get nominated for Oscars. It's head and shoulders above almost any comedic performance that's been nominated for an Oscar. And what she's doing is, like Erik said, it's completely insane, and the way that it lands is completely insane. I can't believe she did what she did in that movie.
I love it. Josh, I think you're the last one.
Yeah. I would keep Paquin, Ryder, and Perez. Yeah, because this really does make sense that Hunter and Thompson, they're okay. They were already taken care of with nominations in another category, and those performances, they're fine, but I can get rid of them. Yes, I agree. Joan Cusack absolutely deserves to be there. It's like an incredible performance. And the last I'm going to mention is a name we haven't said yet, and probably going to mispronounce this. I apologize in advance, but it is Ale Gua from The Wedding Banquet.
Oh,
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in a very long time, I will admit, but I remember that performance just like really hitting me very hard. And
which character was it?
The mother.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
And like it's kind of a tricky role to pull off, but I felt like she just did such an incredible job with it. And even though I haven't seen the movie in a while, that performance has still really stuck with me. And it's very hard for me actually to choose between her and Cusack. They're so different performances, but I love them almost equally. But I do think I will give the edge to Gua, even though I love Cusack as well. The imprint that performance gave on me the first time I saw The Wedding Banquet, I think is just too big to ignore, and she would be my winner, with a very, very close runner-up being Cusack.
Awesome.
I love it.
I love that pick. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting into actor now, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep, best actor.
Who wants to go first? Nobody wants to go first. Oh, okay.
I'm happy to go first.
I'll go. No one wants to go. Dan, you want to go? Okay. Go on.
I'm happy to go first. So, because I would take out the winner in this category. I think that performance is over the top in an offensive way. It feels like exactly what it is, which is a comic actor trying to make his name as a dramatic actor. And I frankly think he goes overboard and over the top, and I'm not a fan.
I would even say, like, at times he just is non-existent in the film. Like, he's not even the lead. It's like we get a lot of the film through Denzel's character's perspective.
Well, it's a co-lead. They're co-lead performances easily.
But there's it feels like a chunk of that movie he's just like in the middle, where he's just like non-existent. I mean, he's there, but he's not like doing anything. So
yeah, I don't like him in the movie. I mean, I don't like the movie in general, but and I never have. Like, this has been an always thing. This is not recent, so it's just not to my tastes. And I think that I don't like him. I like him, but I don't like him in the movie.
Yeah, because everybody loves Tom Hanks. So
yeah. I would also get rid of I would get rid of Anthony Hopkins. It pains me a little bit, but I got to do it. And as much as it also pains me, I'm gonna take out Liam Neeson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm keeping Daniel Day and Lawrence Fishburne, and I am adding in Kenny B from Much Ado About Nothing. We gotta have it that there is. I don't think I'm out of line in saying that there is no actor currently living that speaks Shakespeare better than he does, and this movie is Exhibit A. It's a pure, the whole movie is basically a charm offensive, but he is leading that offensive, and he's great. He's light and airy, and his chemistry with Emma is obviously off the charts incredible. Yeah, so that's my first edition. My second edition is one that I wish that more people liked as much as I did.
Is this the Whale and Free Willy?
No, I consider it. I think that like maybe it. I don't know. So it's Bill Murray and Groundhog Day, and I'm saying that because I just don't think that people consistently list this as one of his best performances or their favorite performances from him.
It is his
but
best
I think it's so good, and the movie to be frank, does not work without him in that part. And I think it's the lack of a wordage the movie got as a whole is rude, but specifically for him, I think it's just like, really? Okay. But yeah, he's great. And my last one, I did go back and forth a little bit, because I do want to stick up for Searching for Bobby Fischer, because I love that movie, and Joe Mantegna is really, really good in it. But my fifth spot, I haven't watched it in a long time, so maybe I would feel differently about it now, but I particularly love Robin Williams in the last third of Mrs. Doubtfire. I think it is some of his best dramatic work. Like that final scene when they're filming the show it just always gets me. And I think it's a really strong turn. And there's also some brilliant physical comedy, as you would always expect from Robin Williams, but he keeps it toned down enough so that even the wacky comedy feels like it really is genuinely coming from this highly annoying person.
Mm-hmm.
And he does a great job of making a really unlikable character kind of likable.
Yeah.
So I would give him my last slot.
All right. And
if I'm picking a winner, yeah, I'll say it. Bill Murray.
For Groundhog Day.
Bill Murray for Groundhog Day.
All right. Cool. All right. Erik, you go next.
This is a very difficult category. I think they're
not getting any easier.
No, this is really hard. I would also take Tom Hanks out. I would take Liam Neeson out. I'd take Daniel Day-Lewis out. I will leave Anthony Hopkins for Remains of the Day. I will leave Lawrence Fishburne for What's Love Got to Do with It. And then, yeah, this is where it gets insanely hard, because I think Harrison Ford in The Fugitive is absolutely perfect. His scene in the interrogation room is,
I'm telling you,
flawless.
Yeah.
He's got just that little timor in his voice.
Are you saying
it's so good?
Are you saying
it's so good?
I killed my wife? Oh, it's so good.
I mean, also Robin Williams is fantastic. It's almost too easy. It is one of those, like, of course you're going to give this performance because this is you in a nutshell. I think somebody that I do not like as an actor, period, is Kevin Costner, but I think A Perfect World as a film and the performance are really, really good. That movie,
really good.
That movie is really exceptional. It's unsettling how good it is.
Considering where it came from.
So I have three choices, and that would be Kenneth Branagh in Much Ado About Nothing, Tyrone Turner in Menace to Society, and I really probably should have thought about Lawrence Tate in supporting too, because he's fucking fantastic. And David Thewlis in Naked.
Yeah.
Like an all-timer decade performance there.
Oh.
For a winner? Oh my God. I think I find Hopkins in Remains of the Day one of the most emotional and sympathetic performances he's ever given. I think he's amazing. I think I would give it to Branagh.
I love that.
That means y'all can't make fun of me as much when I do that.
You're absolutely right.
Both wrong.
It is an absolute fact that no living actor understands the language as well as he does. Getting those high pitches in his voice there is not a moment in this performance that is not calibrated to an inch of its life, but also flows out of him like it's organic words coming out in the moment. It's absurd that he even exists for this. It's insane. And that goes for Emma Thompson too, because she is also perfect in this.
Insane.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. Well, Nicole, we know who your winner's gonna be.
I'm like,
so
let
you
me
might
just
as well
go
just
next
spoil your
now.
list.
Yeah. My list actually is that I'm keeping Anthony Hopkins. I love that performance. Liam Neeson and Lawrence Fishburne. I'm also keeping Daniel Day-Lewis for In the Name of the Father, although I really did consider replacing him with Daniel Day-Lewis in The Age of Innocence.
Same.
If I could have like Daniel Day and Daniel Lewis as different men, we'd be doing better. But then I'm obviously adding in Kenny B for Much Ado About Nothing, and he is my winner. I think that he's actually super underrated as a comedic actor. Earlier, my sister had on what is it that which Harry Potter is it that he's
Chamber
in?
of Secrets.
Thank you, Chamber of Secrets. And like I think his turn as Gilderoy Lockhart is also brilliant comedic acting, and I wish that he sort of had done more comedic acting, which
She's flawless in that part.
Yeah. It's best showcase though in Much Ado. I think that his chemistry, obviously with Emma Thompson, is literally perfect. Wonder why. And not to like completely spoil the next category for myself, but I might be rewarding his and hers Oscars. But yeah, I love him in this role so much. I think it sort of is the peak of his career as an actor, until he plays Lear.
There's
next year.
He and hers Oscars. Looks like somebody's going to win those in the divorce settlement down the road.
Maybe I could have saved it. I don't know. I'm trying to keep my parents together.
No, that's great. Sophia, you want to go?
Yeah. Speaking of Lear, and as a former Shakespeare scholar, Ian McKellen is our greatest living Shakespearean actor. Having seen him in Lear, I personally, not to get on Branagh, but I do think he's good in Much Ado. But Ian McKellen is it.
But did you see Derek Jacobi in Lear? Bam.
Yes, I did. That is also
fantastic.
Good. I love Lear. Yeah. But I think Denzel, two of our modern actors, is a really good
in the same film, Macbeth.
He made me think about Macbeth very differently than I had before. But anyway, in this category, the only one I'm keeping as is Anthony Hopkins. The rest we're doing some switches. So I'm going to change Daniel Day-Lewis's nomination to The Age of Innocence. I'm going to go with Harrison Ford in The Fugitive. I think he should have been nominated for this, and it's a crime that he doesn't have more when it comes to the Oscars. I am going with Robin Williams in Mrs. Doubtfire. I think that that's also just a good comedic and dramatic performance, and one that when I think of the year is important to my childhood. And David Thewlis for Naked. Love the performance and love the movie. And my winner is, of course, Daniel Day-Lewis for The Age of Innocence. One of my favorite performances of his, and should have been another Oscar for him.
Love it. I think we have Josh and Zach left in this category.
Can I ask a quick question?
No.
Yes, I'm going to do it anyway. Since we are on the double Daniel Day-Lewis thing, does anyone think that had the rules been allowing of people to be nominated twice in one category that he could have? Or do you think maybe
probably, yeah.
He's the kind of actor that would have.
I think that the fact that The Age of Innocence did as like kind of poorly as it did in the Oscars, all things considered, not getting in for picture, director, or actress for Pfeiffer, it makes me feel I don't know if he would have. But
he's the kind of actor that would have done it. Like, if anyone could have done it, it would have been him for this.
And I do think it, like, unfortunately, would have come at the cost of Lawrence Fishburne, probably. So it's that thing of like, it's not that I like. It's hard to say that I want it to happen, but I do think like the Daniel Day-Lewis of it all, especially with him having the year that he had could have made it happen.
Yeah,
I would have been all for it.
Yeah,
I almost did it. I almost broke the rules and did it myself. So
I had a feeling. I thought somebody might actually.
If it would have been anyone, it would have been me.
True.
But I was firm in the rules.
Nicole, I do agree. I do agree with you. I think it sadly would have been at the cost of Fishburne, just because the others are in Best Picture nominations, and Hanks is an undeniable winner at that point. So it's sadly, yeah, that would have been it. But thank God it didn't. They just should have just nominated him in an Age of Innocence and not In the Name of the Father. But I get it. Zach, you want to go?
All right, yeah. So it's gonna sound like I'm copying Sophia a little bit. So
so you guys are just doing what you did
kidding.
last week or the week before and just repeating yourselves.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be almost identical, I think. And I'll say, first of all, I think this is actually a really strong Best Actor category. I know that Philadelphia is a little bit contentious these days, and I mean, I go back and forth in that movie, but I ultimately I do still like it quite a bit just because of Demi's humanity that shines through in that film. But I would, if I was going to nominate Tom Hanks for anything this year, it would be for Sleepless in Seattle, which he didn't make my cut, unfortunately. I'm keeping Anthony Hopkins for The Remains of the Day. I am swapping out Daniel Day-Lewis's nomination for In the Name of the Father for The Age of Innocence. I'm also including Harrison Ford for The Fugitive. I remember Siskel and Ebert did their annual Oscars snubs and surprises episode, and they highlighted Harrison Ford, and Gene Siskel, I distinctly remember saying, what does this guy have to do to get a nomination? I guess he's just going to have to bare his soul in some kind of Oscar baity film where, he plays a guy dying of cancer or something. Like, no one appreciates what this guy does so well in movies like this, which is that he adds a certain gravitas and heft and humor to these kinds of films, right? That you don't see anymore.
Do you think that he was referring to in the future Dial of Destiny?
Could have been, yeah.
That's
Siskel knew.
He knew the dial was coming.
Yeah. I'm also including David Thewlis for Naked. So that's my 4 out of 5. And instead of Robin Williams, I'm putting in Bill Murray for Groundhog Day.
Yes.
Once again, just the kind of performance that's underrated, but elevates the material. My winner, and it really it resonated with me on this rewatch, why I would pick him as my winner, is Daniel Day-Lewis for The Age of Innocence. I think so often when people think about Daniel Day-Lewis's great performances, they think of the ones where, he's got on a lot of prosthetics, or he's doing a really like an interesting voice. There's kind of like immersive characterizations that he does. This performance, to me, it breaks my heart whenever I watch it, because you realize that, first of all, so much of it is about what he can't say because of the strictures of the society that he's existing in. But what really resonated with me this time was the fact that, his love for Michelle Pfeiffer's character stems not just from how beautiful she is, but from how worldly and intelligent and actually cultured she is, as opposed to all of these people who exist in the society who feign a culture and an intelligence, but they don't actually have it, because they're incurious about the world outside of the society that they exist in. And it's heartbreaking the moment when he realizes that he's not going to end up with her, number one. And number two, he says to his wife, Winona Ryder, I was thinking that maybe I could do some traveling. And he realizes he can't do that either. He's stuck here. He's not going to be able to go out into the world and learn and explore and actually live. It really just it gets me whenever I see it, and I think that anyone who would say that Daniel Day-Lewis is just some kind of skilled mimic, or a person who's just kind of all about theatrics, probably hasn't really watched a lot of his movies. And
not really that many, actually.
No,
When
I
you
mean,
really
you could
think
probably
about it.
knock him out in a couple of weeks, right?
Probably like a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done them all. It's not challenging.
It's not that challenging.
They're kind of, some are hard to find, but
They're all
I
great.
really love doing it.
Yeah, they're all great in their own way. Yeah. Josh?
I am keeping Lawrence Fishburne. And, I'm also going to keep Tom Hanks. I understand that, once again, yes, that performance is not perfect, but it still moves me. I cried the first time I saw it. Yes, I was young, but it's still, I think, a very important kind of movie and performance to me. Again, I know the context and it hasn't aged that well, but I still like what he's doing, and I'm fine with him having a nomination. But the other ones I would replace, I would go with Robin Williams for Mrs. Doubtfire, Bill Murray for Groundhog Day, and David Thewlis for Naked. Those would be my other three. And my winner, I am actually going to say Lawrence Fishburne for What's Love Got to Do with It.
I love that, Josh.
I think that is an incredibly difficult performance to pull off, and he does not get the credit necessary, I think, to convey that, and I think it's exceptional. I think it is an amazing performance, and yeah, he would be my Best Actor winner.
I love
that.
Me too. Erik,
I love it.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke. That's great. Because see, Lawrence Fishburne is the only one that I would keep from this category. Because Lawrence Fishburne, What's Love Got to Do with It? That's who I would nominate. Because Daniel Day-Lewis I would replace for The Age of Innocence, and then David Thewlis for Naked, and then Harrison Ford for The Fugitive, and then Bill Murray for Groundhog Day. And I don't need to say anything else because Sophia and Zach have already said it. Daniel Day-Lewis for The Age of Innocence is my winner. I would love to see him come out of retirement and work with Scorsese one last time, because he's played this kind of performance and then the wild character that is Gangs of New York, and he only two directors I think could pull him out of retirement. That's PTA and Martin Scorsese, and they're able to tame this wild animal that is Daniel Day-Lewis. But he's incredible. I just think of the ending of the movie and just how god damn sad it is. So all right, actress. This is one that's going to take 6 hours for us to get through. Hopefully not. I'm going to start. So I would keep Holly Hunter for The Piano, and I would keep Angela Bassett because she did The Thing and What's Love Got to Do with It. I would nominate Emma Thompson for Much Ado About Nothing. That's her best performance of the whole year.
Yep.
Juliette Binoche for Three Colors Blue.
Yep.
And Tilda Swinton for Orlando. That's my line. It's Juliette Binoche. And the reason why is because I just think that it is truly a fantastic performance, and one that I saw back in college, and it's a singular performance that truly, for that whole trilogy, there's so many great female performances in that trilogy. It's the best performance of her career, and we wouldn't have to give her an Oscar for The English Patient, which is an Oscar that I just I shake my head at, and one day we'll take it away from her. So yeah, she totally deserves it. Erik,
I'm gonna the English patient.
Well, can I?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, go Nicole.
I was just gonna jump in and go next since I already spoiled who my winner is.
No, that's fair.
And also because I have some overlap with you. I'm keeping Angela Bassett and I'm keeping Holly Hunter. I am adding in, obviously, Emma Thompson for Much Ado About Nothing. For everything, I've said about how natural Ken is with the Shakespeare, I think she is equally as good, if not better. I'm also adding in Tilda Swinton for Orlando, and then I'm also adding in actually Meg Ryan for Sleepless in Seattle.
Yes.
It takes a very talented actress to make that movie work. And I really think that, a lot of it, even though Nora's script is great, a lot of it is down to Meg Ryan's performance that keeps that from having horror movie vibes. And then my winner is Emma Thompson. I think this is one of her best roles. I think she's a brilliant comedic actress, and I would love to have, seen them get a couple Oscars for this.
All right. Okay. Who's next?
I'm gonna go next because lots of overlap.
Okay.
I am also keeping Holly Hunter and Angela Bassett, and keeping Emma Thompson, but making it for Much Ado instead of The Remains of the Day. The one thing I am not here for is any of this Stockard Channing should not have been nominated bullshit, because she's great. She is
I love
full
her.
stop. That is a tremendous performance in 6 Degrees of Separation.
I haven't seen it in years.
Absolutely deserves to be here.
Why? Yeah.
That whole movie is great. I strongly considered putting Will Smith into a nomination spot, but I couldn't quite do it. But yeah, Stockard Channing absolutely deserves. And that last spot is so hard between Tilda and Juliet, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna go with Tilda. She's probably my favorite living actress for the risks she takes.
Yes.
And she's just always incredible. And Orlando, there is no other part that has asked so much of its player this year, and she's absolutely outstanding, and as is the movie. Yeah, so that's my lineup, and I don't want to pick a winner.
You don't have a choice, Daniel.
I cannot
don't
pick
have a
winner.
choice, Daniel.
I cannot.
It kind of
Fine.
sounds like you already have.
No, it can't be a tie. Are we sure?
No, there's no ties.
No, there's no ties here. Ties are bullshit things that that don't exist in the world. There's winners and
Except
losers.
at the Broadcast Film Critics
Yeah, no.
Awards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or Best Actress at the Oscars. But
Yeah.
once in every 60 years. Because look, I mean, this is just, I feel like this is one of those terrible situations where you have at least 2 performances that in any other year would have been the runaway winner, and it's one of them has to lose, and I feel so bad, because I think Holly Hunter is gorgeous in The Piano. That is an incredible, flawless, so layered performance, but it's not Angela Bassett and What's Love Got to Do with It, which is take you by the throat and throttle you with tremendous forceful acting, and no one else could have given that performance. I mean, no one else could have given many of these performances, but something special happened with Angela Bassett playing Tina Turner that I don't think we've ever seen since, frankly. And she would be my winner, as much as it pains me.
Okay. Sophia.
I am keeping Holly Hunter and Angela Bassett. I feel like they're just amazing. I'm adding Tilda for Orlando. I am also adding Emma Thompson for Much Ado About Nothing. Perfect as Beatrice. It's just her role for me. When I think of Emma Thompson, I actually think of Beatrice. And I actually haven't seen the Three Colors trilogy. It's one of my biggest blind spots. Ryan, you bought me the box set though, so I'm going to dig into it very soon. My
Okay.
last nominee is actually Diane Keaton for Manhattan Murder Mystery.
Oh,
I
God.
wondered if
Oh
you
my
would.
god.
Oh my God.
Wow, that's great.
I had to
Deep
do it.
cut. Deep
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah, I love her so much. So I feel like it's such a fun performance from her, and it's one I also think of when I think of her. But my winner, as much as I love Holly Hunter's win, and I've always thought my whole life that I think Angela Bassett should have won instead, even though Holly Hunter is amazing, I would give my Oscar to Tilda Swinton for Orlando. I think it's her finest work to date, and she's just a magnificent actress.
Angela's got the honorary
Yeah.
coming up. Should be
Well,
okay.
not yet.
Oh yeah, that's true. They might
Well,
not do
Tilda
it.
also is supporting for Michael
Yeah.
Clayton, so
That's a great win.
yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind that it's her only nomination.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
She's 1 for 1.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all right. Who
I'll go.
Erik.
This is really weird. I have the exact same lineup as you, Ryan.
Oh, really?
It's the exact same.
Why don't you just
Keeping
copy
Holly
me?
Hunter
Mhm.
and Angela Bassett, and adding Tilda Swinton, Julie Binoche, and switching Emma Thompson to Much Ado easily. No shade to Soccer Channing, who I think is incredible in this. I think she's wonderful. I love her. And Deborah Winger was nominated for the wrong movie. She should have gotten in for A Dangerous Woman instead. As
I
far as a
feel
winner,
Okay, sorry. I was just gonna say I feel like our Emma Thompson should have been nominated for Much Ado instead. Feels a little bit like the whole Laura Dern Marriage Story Little Women situation.
Yep.
Where it's just so clearly the wrong film from that year.
Mhm.
I'm telling you. As far as a winner goes, it would actually be really tough because I think all 5 are absolutely perfect. If that was the lineup, I would be like, I don't care. Anyone. I think I would go with Bassett, if largely because the movie itself it's very constructed in a very traditional biopic way. There is nothing really about it that breaks out of that mold in any way. I wish there was a different director. I wish someone like Julie Dash maybe had been able to get their hands on it to do something visually different, something a little more creative about it. So everything about this movie rests on Fishburne and Bassett being as good as they are. And yeah, I think what Bassett's doing is career work and just defining work. And I know it's probably easy to point to the scene where she runs across the traffic and is at the hotel. And I think that's fair. It's really, it does what it needs to do. Yeah, but I would be happy with any of those 5. And it's, at the end of the day, this Oscar 5 is a really good list.
Yeah. Josh, you want to go real quick?
Yeah, because this will be rather quick because pretty much I agree with a lot of what has already been said. Keeping Hunter and Bassett, switching the Thompson nomination to Much Ado About Nothing, adding Tilda Swinton. I guess I'm just going to be a sheep to the campaign and say Michelle Pfeiffer in here for Age of Innocence. You know, it's a great performance. I don't care where it is, as long as it's nominated. And for a winner, God, this is so very, very difficult. I am torn between 2 people, and I wish I could tie, but I'm not going to. I'm going to give the very slight edge to Bassett over Tilda Swinton. I love both of those performances, but there is something very special with what Bassett is doing. And yeah, I mean, even just to do my own his and hers Oscars, you know, for the lead.
I love that.
I think I'm going to do that.
What she's doing that's so special is The Thing. So
exactly. But I love Tilda Swinton too. Like, I love that movie, and that performance absolutely is so layered and nuanced. And I love what Tilda Swinton is doing in that movie. But there is something very special also with Bassett. So by the by a hair, I would say Bassett is my winner in that category.
Okay, awesome. Back-to-back
All right.
Bassets. Yeah, Zach, all you.
Okay.
Wrap us up real quick.
So I'm keeping Bassett and Hunter.
Okay.
I'm going to just admit right now that I have not seen this version of Midsummer Night's Dream, so I can't comment on whether or not I would.
Much Ado.
Much Ado. But see, that is exactly.
Midsummer was in another couple years.
That's like, yeah. So I can't comment on whether or not Emma Thompson was in for the wrong film, but I will watch it probably tonight, and I'll make sure that I watch Much Ado About Nothing and not Midsummer Night's Dream, just to be doubly sure. I'm putting in Juliette Binoche for Three Colors Blue, Michelle Pfeiffer for The Age of Innocence, and Tilda Swinton for Orlando. She's my favorite living actress, and I would watch her read the phone book, which is why I love that Pedro Almodovar short that she did. My winner. You know, by this point for me, if I had it my way, Hunter would have already won an Oscar for broadcast news.
Yes.
That's why she's not my winner here.
Yeah.
Because she should have won for that.
And honestly, though, I have to go with my heart and say that even then, I probably would still give it to her for The Piano. And the reason is, I remember my second year of film school. I'd already seen The Piano multiple times, but they played a print of it in our giant main theater, which has like the largest screen in the state of North Carolina. At least at that point it was. I don't know if it's changed at all. I can never get out of my mind the image of her face in that film. You know, like it haunts me every time I see it. And I think in terms of degree of difficulty, to have to do the entire film reliant upon your eyes and your body language to communicate so clearly everything that you're thinking at every moment without the use of your voice, I don't know how she did it. And so I still, as much as I love Angela Bassett in What's Love Got to Do with It, as much as I love, the other three women who I would put up here, I have to say that I think the Academy got it right in this instance. And like, she is just so tied into why I love that movie so much.
Yeah, it's a great performance. All right. Well, we got director and picture, and I think we're just going to bundle them up and do them together, so then we can just get out of here quickly. So when you say them both, and both your winners at the same time. Okay. Like, my best director lineup is Martin Scorsese for The Age of Innocence, and Jane Campion for The Piano, and Steven Spielberg for Jurassic Park, and Andrew Davis for The Fugitive, and Kieslowski for Three Colors Blue. And I'm going with this guy named Martin Scorsese for The Age of Innocence. This is one of many Oscars this man should have. It's an incredible achievement, an incredible adaptation. And yeah, I Spielberg should be nominated for Jurassic Park over Schindler's List. I think that movie is so groundbreaking, and actually I was kind of like underwhelmed by the direction a little bit in the rewatch of Schindler's List. And I've rewatched Jurassic Park numerous times to know that that's such a technical achievement, and those all that CGI and everything, it holds up still so much today. It really does, which is not what you can say for a lot of movies like its kind. And so I give it to Scorsese there. And then my 5 films would be The Age of Innocence, Three Colors Blue, The Piano, Groundhog Day, and The Fugitive. And yeah, I give it to the Age of Innocence. It's my second favorite Scorsese film of all time, and I absolutely love that film. And yeah, I watch it now. I watched it last year. I'm gonna watch it again probably tonight after this is all done. So who wants to go next? Erik, you want to go?
I'll go. Yeah. Did you name off the nominees?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
No, you mean like he means the people who got actually nominated.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, the ones that actually got nominated.
Yeah, I'll do that then.
Okay.
So for director, Steven Spielberg, Schindler's List; Jim Sheridan, Name of the Father; Jane Campion, The Piano; James Ivory, The Remains of the Day; Robert Altman, Shortcuts.
Which is wild. That's such a, I love
It
when
is,
wild nominations like that
It's
happen.
perfect.
Yeah.
It is. I'm so scared to do this.
Well,
I'm
then
taking
don't
out.
do it.
Well,
I'm taking out everyone except for Jane Campion, and I'm sorry to Robert Altman.
also Best Picture nominees were Schindler's List, The Fugitive, and
I
The
know, I'm
Father,
doing
Piano,
that
and The
too.
Remains of the Day.
Also,
Nope.
the anti-Semitism on this podcast of taking Spielberg out from Schindler's List.
It's not in my it's not in like even my top 10. I'm keeping Jane Campion. I really should keep Robert Altman, but I'm not going to because I'm not. And replacing everybody else with the Hughes brothers for Menace to Society, Carl Franklin for Red Rock West, Richard Linklater for Dazed and Confused, and Sally Potter for Orlando. Good Lord. Best Picture, Schindler's List, The Fugitive, In the Name of the Father, Piano, and The Remains of the Day were the nominations. I'm keeping The Fugitive and The Piano, and replacing the rest with The Age of Innocence, Menace to Society, and Dazed and Confused. I really actually love Shortcuts. It drives me crazy that I don't have it there in either, which is a big fault. My apologies.
Don't apologize. Stick by it.
And I didn't have much to do about nothing, which is also, I mean, this is crazy.
All right. Can I go
All right.
next?
Yeah.
Okay. For directors, I'm actually going to keep Steven Spielberg for Schindler's List. And I'm also keeping Jim Sheridan for In the Name of the Father and James Ivory for The Remains of the Day. I think that The Remains of the Day is sort of at its best with Hopkins' performance and the direction. And then I'm adding in No Shocks Here, Kenny B for Much Ado About Nothing, and good old Marty for The Age of Innocence. And then for Best Picture nominations, I'm keeping Schindler's List and In the Name of the Father. I am adding Much Ado About Nothing and Jurassic Park and The Age of Innocence. And I am actually going to give my director win to Kenneth Branagh, just because I think that is, in my mind, like the best directed Shakespeare film. And I think that the way that he directs all the comedy in it is just truly brilliant. But I'm going to, I really did consider giving The Age of Innocence my Best Picture win because I do think it's a perfect movie. But I'm going to leave Schindler's List as the Best Picture win because I think like it was such a important moment in film history, and particularly in sort of depictions of the Holocaust on screen. And I really do think like the impact that happened because of that winning Best Director or Best Picture in terms of the donations and stuff that they got to different organizations around sort of Holocaust remembrance is really important. So, and I also do think it's a great film.
Yeah. I mean, it got 7 Oscars, So
yeah. And there's a reason. Well, I mean, there are films that get a lot of Oscars that
don't necessarily deserve them.
But this one does.
Dan?
Sure. Yeah. Best director, absolutely keeping Steven Spielberg for Schindler's List, absolutely keeping Jane Campion for The Piano. Filling in for the rest, Harold Ramis for Groundhog Day, one of the best comedies ever. I'm also gonna put in Sally Potter for Orlando because, good lord. And last but definitely not least, Kenneth Branagh for Much Ado About Nothing. The way that movie moves, it is so difficult to make comedy, especially Shakespearean comedies, feel this fast and fleet and accessible to people. And the thing moves like a dream. It's beautifully cast, and it's so quick and so witty, and it's great. He directs it perfectly. But outside of all that, obviously the best director is Steven Spielberg for Schindler's List. Like, people forget that Holocaust movies did not look like this. People did not die like this on screen. You didn't show the things that he was showing you on screen in this movie. It's not just a really emotional story that's like, it's not some Oscar bait thing. He took some real chances with the storytelling and how things, especially how things look in this movie. And it's the coup de grace on an amazing career at this point. He absolutely deserved the nomination and the win for this film. Best Picture, keeping Schindler's List, keeping The Piano, throwing in for the others, but I do go back and forth. You know what? Fuck it. Yeah, keep The Fugitive. I love The Fugitive. It's awesome. Keep it in. For the other two slots, I'm going to put in. I hate having to choose. But I would, just because it's my Best Picture lineup and they're my favorite movies. So I'm putting in Searching for Bobby Fischer. If you come away from nothing else from this podcast, find and watch Searching for Bobby Fischer. It's great. And Much Ado About Nothing.
Okay.
Because I love it so much.
And your picture winner is Schindler's List?
Oh, Schindler's List. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Zach, you want to go?
Sure, I'll go. So my 5 director and picture nominees are going to match. So hopefully that makes it a little more streamlined.
That helps.
Martin Scorsese for The Age of Innocence, Andrew Davis for The Fugitive, Jane Campion for The Piano, Steven Spielberg for Schindler's List, and Robert Altman for Shortcuts. This is a little hard for me because these are, I think, incredible artistic achievements from each of their 5 directors, and each represents the very best of what they can do. I think I haven't talked much about, well, we have at this point, about the impact of Schindler's List. I rewatching it again this time. I had not seen it in a while, and I was incredibly struck by what a great movie it is, because it is so totemic, and I think that it's easy to kind of take it for granted, right? And I truly don't know how Steven Spielberg went to set every day and did that. So it's hard for me to say that he didn't deserve to win. But then I also think about The Piano, and that was a movie that sort of opened up the world to me in a very profound way and taught me what films could be. And so I think I have to give it both Best Picture and Best Director. I mean, I love all 5 of these movies. It's tough for me to choose, but there are times when I think The Piano might, very well be one of my 10 favorite films of all time. Because it's my favorite Jane Campion.
Yeah. And she would have multiple Oscars in at that point.
Yeah.
And Power of the Dog. Erik, before we get over to Sophia and Josh's picks, you didn't even give your winners. I just noticed that.
I forgot. And it's the Piano and Campion.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a perfect segue to me. So, for my director nominees, I have Martin Scorsese for The Age of Innocence, Sally Potter for Orlando, Jane Campion for The Piano, Robert Altman for Shortcuts, and I did keep Steven Spielberg for Schindler's List. I think it is a perfect, really, directorial achievement, and I think it's a good win too. And for picture, I have Shortcuts, The Age of Innocence, The Fugitive, Schindler's List, and The Piano, with my winners being, I mean, it's crazy that I'm not picking Marty because this is my favorite Scorsese, but my winners are Jane Campion and The Piano. This movie is everything to me. It is a masterpiece. I can't really talk about it without crying, so I'm going to be brief, but I watched it the other night and was just floored by how much feeling was packed into this. I just can't even understand how one artist was able to accomplish what she did with this movie. And it's a masterwork. It's going to stand the test of time forever.
Yeah, no. And you can get it on Criterion 4K now, but you have to pay full price. The Barnes & Noble sales already done. So sorry out there. Josh, bring us home, Josh. The Oscar guru that is Josh Parham. He gets the real final say here. Sorry, Erik, but I mean, he has the best actress track record. You don't.
I would never refer to myself as a guru, and anybody that does,
expert.
I question you. Nope, none of those words. None of it.
Don't want to put that label on myself either.
I'm just kidding. Anyway.
So for my director lineup, I would keep Spielberg and Campion, and I would make replacements with Scorsese for Age of Innocence, Sally Potter for Orlando, and my last one would actually be Tony Scott for True Romance.
Oh,
hell yes.
I love it. Yes.
All right, Josh. Okay.
And my winner would be Sally Potter for Orlando. I love that movie. And then for Best Picture, I would keep The Fugitive, The Piano, and Schindler's List, and make replacements with Age of Innocence and Orlando. And my winner would also be Orlando, because it is my favorite film of that year.
I love that. Josh. Those are great picks.
And I love it.
Everybody did a great job. All right, that's it. We're done. It's over. 1993. We're never going to talk about it ever again. So if you come up to us on the street and you're like, "Hey, remember that 93 Oscar podcast?" Sorry, it's all on the notes.
It was much ado about a lot of things.
Exactly.
Yeah, the thing is that's everyone knows that's false. I'm going to talk about much ado within.
You're talking about the
hours.
movies, just in the context of the show. We are officially done. So, Erik Anderson, can you tell everybody out there where we can find you on the internet?
You can find me in the United States because I'm not in Europe, and also on AwardsWatch.com. Please sign up for the newsletter and read musings and ridiculousness on Twitter and Blue Sky and Threads and Zellweger and all the other apps.
Nicole Ackman.
You can find me on Twitter, whatever they call it these days, Instagram and Letterboxd at Nicole Ackman 16.
Right. Dan Bayer.
You can find me on whatever it's being called these days as Dance and Dan on Film. You can find me on Letterboxd and post at Dance and Dan.
Josh Parham.
I'm not calling it X.
Even though you just said it, you kind of trapped yourself.
I mean,
there.
We just talked about a great Chicago movie in The Fugitive, and Chicagoans will just ask them what the Sears Tower is called now, and you'll have your answer about how we are very stubborn of not calling things by different names when we have one picked out. So yeah, you can find me still on Twitter and Letterboxd at JR Parham, and you can also find my work over at Next Best Picture and on Awards Watch.
All right. Zach Loss.
You can find me on X. And
just leaning into it, aren't you?
Yeah. Listen, I've been saying for months now, it's going to go away, and this could be the beginning of the end. So for now, keep finding me on that app, and Letterboxd and Instagram and Facebook. That's Zach Laws. And you can find my work over at AwardsWatch.
And Sophia Ciminello.
You can find me on Twitter. It has not changed over on my phone yet at Sophia_Sim. And you can find me on Letterboxd at the same handle. Same with Blue Sky and Threads and everywhere. I can't quit social media. It's very sad. You can find my podcast, Oscar Wilde, at Oscar Wilde Pod. This Friday, we have an episode featuring our dear Ryan McQuade. We're talking about Hayao Miyazaki films, so that will be very fun. And you can find my work at AwardsWatch. Since I wasn't on the Barbie episode, read my Barbie review.
Please read it. It's still a great review for a great movie. And yes, go listen to Oscar Wilde. If you want to skip the episode I'm on, you can totally do that. But otherwise, listen, and also get on their Patreon page / Oscar Wilde.
Yeah.
And congrats to Sophia on her induction into the online female film critics. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter because I refuse to update it on my phone, and I hate not updating things on my phone, but I'm holding out, and you can see in the app it's got that, that number 1 right next to it, like it's a notification. I'm holding out, baby. I'm not updating that until I have to. You can find me over on Twitter and Instagram and Letterboxd at Ryan McQuade 77. You can find all my work here. You can also, like Erik said, get the newsletter. You can read everybody's amazing work here that they do under one roof. You can also then find the podcast here every week. And also, while you're at it, please listen to Director Watch, our new series that myself and Jay Ledbetter have been doing. We've been doing the works of Todd Haynes. This week's episode, I can tease it. We are going to be talking about Carol, and we are going to have the great Kevin Jacobson on from And the Runner-Up Is to talk about that film. Looking forward to continuing that series and figuring out what the next couple series are going to be, but please go and listen to that. And if you really like the show, go ahead and give us a rating on iTunes or Spotify. 5 stars, please. Anything else will really hurt our feelings. So next week, we will be doing something here. I don't know what we're actually doing next week.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery until Ryan pulls up the spreadsheet. And it's something I think that will be very topical for our team to talk about here. And that's our top 5 modern directors. I feel like with the Barbenheimer sort of phenomenon going on right now, it's best to find out who we all think are our favorite 5 directors currently working in the field. And I think it'll lend to a really fun conversation. So that's what we're going to do next week, because we're not going to talk about the Meg, because they aren't screening it for anyone right now. So thank you all so much for listening.
Shucks.
And we'll see you all next time.